Hello, hello, hello. How you guys doing? Let me make sure that I can hear myself. Oops. Turn the music off. Let me make sure I can hear myself. Okay. All right, it's all good. Hey, Azure TV, how you doing? How are y'all doing today? Lovely, lovely day. Oh man, we had like tornado like winds and thunder yesterday that hit Chicago. Now that wasn't the night that I went out for my birthday, of course. I'm not gonna get the exact date, but yeah, I'm glad that did not happen. We were out there because we're seeing, images of trees that have been knocked down in Chicago. So yeah, how y'all doing? I wanted to talk about this because I came across a video. Well, it just popped up as a recommend. I guess it's from some show that maybe some comedy show. So I was like wondering, is this Key and Peele? But no, I guess it's some comedic skit out of the UK. Hold on a second. Let me do this. Oh, I gotta get used to, even though these nails are not long at all, I'm just so not used to having fingernails just past the tip of my fingers. I'm just really not used to that. There's no way I could have done my job typing with all the typing that I've had to do in administrative assistant work. Yeah. Sorry about that, Sean. But yeah, let me share with y'all. Let me do a screen share and go to my history. Oh yeah, I've been watching Blood Sisters series. Oh yeah, where Diana's baby D at? She just posted in my video, in my short. Like, oh, I must have totally lost contact with her, losing my other channel. And I see that she has some content. Well, I'm all for it. Where she wants to be addressed. I hope she comes up in here today so I can highlight her post and maybe highlight her channel. Look like she want to go more into talking on more specifically featurism in relation to racial aesthetics, anthropology, perhaps. And I know she knows more of what she's talking about without necessarily having a negative bias or negative agenda. Some people, they're just fascinated with such subjects and learning about, what makes us different, how we may differ phenotypically, even aesthetically, in relation to quote unquote race. It's nothing wrong with being curious and or just wanting to know about that and me as an artist, a person who has sketched humans, who have sketched people, I'm definitely interested in that. But yeah, let me do a screen share real quick. I'm gonna try not to play the audio. Fair use. But let me go to my watch history on my channel. Yeah. Oh yeah, I want you guys. I do want to talk about the the series on Netflix. I don't know. I need somebody to talk about it with. No one's talking. I mean, I watched the series. They just came back with season 2 of Blood Sisters. I don't know if I should be recommending it. Oh, okay. You say you talked to Diana through Instagram. I thought I was subscribed to her over on these other channels, but apparently not because yeah, well, I know I was on the Lashif for You Refined channel, which I've lost. But she just left the post, and I was like, "Oh, let me go check out. Let me," because I haven't seen anything coming up from her. So obviously, on these channels, I'm not subscribed, or I thought I was subscribed, or they're doing funny things like unsubscribing people. Um, yeah, and I see that she has a little content up. So yeah, I hope she stops through. Diana's baby D, shout out. Let me share this. Oh, you guys can see what I'm sharing? Okay. Let me click into this. This is a little short. I don't know exactly. You know me, I'm one who also reads post. So I am going to yeah, I'm gonna have it on mute. I get okay, so this is a black woman here. I believe I've seen this face. I've seen this woman before, or I've seen this face before, or face similar. I believe I've seen this person before. Okay, it's when two homeless souls meet. My date was a literal train wreck. This just popped up. This was just recommended. I was curious because I was like, I've seen this woman before. So I clicked in. So you see this woman here. This is a black woman. Um, yeah, she's on a date with a guy, and I was like, "What? Is that the?" I didn't regularly watch Key and Peele like that. I know. I'm just not as into comedy as I used to be, and I grew up, you know, watching. My family was very much into comedy, but I don't know. I just haven't been checking out a lot of the Comedy Central stuff. But I was like, "Is that?" I was like, "Is that the dude, the Peele?" I mean, Key, Key and Peele. Like, no, yeah, yes, they have UK accents. So he's turned off by her. I don't know. I'd have to see it in fuller context. She put on blue contacts, this blonde wig, and he's like I can't believe I was gonna marry you or something. And um, yeah. So yeah, I'm purposely not playing audio. So she's taking out the contacts, the lashes, taking off the wig she had on. Okay. And what brought me in here more were the comments. Okay. I'm a comment reader and I'm like, what's this about? I don't know. He's gay, by the way. He takes her sister as his. Okay, I guess you would have to watch. That makeover is a hot mess. She looks better natural. And there are people, okay, somebody said they pissed me off with how they made her look on this show. So I guess it's some comedy show from the UK. But I have seen this woman before. I've seen her before, and I'm going to say, in my opinion, she has some very what they used to describe, what used to be described by the Western mainstream media. When I was younger, her looks would have been described as exotic. What they used to actually mean, at least by Western world viewpoint, what they, when it comes to beauty and all that, her look was seen as exotic. That's how they would have described her. Now, whether you see her as attractive, now some says she's exquisite just naturally. Baby girl don't need to look like no Beyonce. Okay. Just looking at some of these comments, because you know that I'm one to read the comments, especially like, what is this about? Now I only clicked in because she looked like I was wondering who this was, but then I heard it, she got a British accent. Like, yeah, because I just feel I've seen her before. Uh, Otherwise I wouldn't have cared to click in because it looked like something it would not be attracted to watching. Um, yeah, so somebody, when it's far, she looks like the girl gremlin. I've seen a couple of these comments when she does the come to bed face. Oh, okay. She looks like the girl gremlin, on the gremlins when she does the come to bed face. I've also seen people say this with Olandria Carthan, who is on Love Island season 7, who is now blown up more so as a beauty fashion icon more recently. Okay, he's saying her physical comedy is hilarious. The way she contorts her face reminds me of how Jim Carrey can make himself look like a cartoon. I've only seen her in shorts, but I love this actress's ability to make me laugh and contort her face like that. Okay, so I'm like, reading the comments. And yeah, it's as you can see here, it's some white guy who is posting this, and oh gosh, she looks like the girl, and you can say lighten up, let's see, lighten up. Hey, it's just comedy. If that's how we've cracked on people saying that, comparing them to whether it be cartoon characters, animals, uh, fictional creatures or whatever. But of course, I'm going to take it a certain ways when you have especially non-black people, especially white Caucasian people, telling us that we resemble creatures of any kind, because there is a history with that, a very brutal history behind that. It's not just just having a sense of humor. Hey, how you doing, Penizoy? So yeah, I'm always looking to see if there's somebody to kind of check this. And somebody saying, dang, it's my ex-girlfriend demon, and L laughed my ass off. I thought the same thing. Yeah. Now one person's comment, let me see if I could find it. Somebody said something and it got quite a few thumbs up, and I believe I even thumbs it up, even though some people. No, this isn't the comment, but let me see what this says. It says, I hate how when they see a black person in a role and they're not acting like how they think black people are supposed to act, or how they look, now they're called ugly or something rude. It's weird and just insults to the real person, because that's genuinely how people look in real life, even outside of the character. It's genuinely effing rude. Okay. All right. That's not the comment I'm looking for though. That's not the comment. Let me see. Oh gosh, it's always different when I'm on my phone and when I'm watching on our projector screen and reading comments versus when I come back here on my computer. It's like it's easier. Yeah, it's not as easy the way it is. Okay. Okay, let me see. Maybe if I do it's every time I knew I should have set it up if I was going to go, because there was a certain person who was saying that this is giving off minstrel to them. And we don't usually think of British and oh boy, so this is another case of where the comment, even though I was able to find it so easily at the top on my phone or on my projection screen, when I come back here on my desktop computer where I do my live streams and stuff, I can't find the comment. It's nowhere on top, even though it had tons of comments at top. But I can't find it. So they were basically saying, someone was basically saying that they see this as somewhat minstrel. And they're saying that they could have had her looking somewhat more feminine than this. This is giving off somewhat minstrel. And I found myself, I felt that they could express it better in their comment than I can, and trying to retract it. But I found myself giving that comment a thumbs up. But then I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, because then there were people who were responding. First of all, this is her comedic skit. This is what the comedy that she decided to do, basically like saying that there may not be any puppet masters, but this is her comedy. How could it be minstrel when this is what she decided to, how she wants to make us laugh, what she's doing. This isn't a case of white people or non-black people. And they were also explaining that in response, that if you watch this in full, she shows that it like sends a message that I guess, like you see her at the end taking out the contacts and all of that. It sends a message that you should accept your natural. I don't know. So then I was like, maybe I should not have thumbs up that comment. But why was I also thinking something kind of minstrel? Now, yeah, that's her face. That's her face. Those are her lips. Those are her cheekbones. That's her prognathism. That's her nose. That's how she looks. Okay, it is what it is. That's her beautiful complexion. Okay, that's her face. All right. And I definitely see the beauty that a lot of people brainwashed by the Western world may not see. Now, I'm not saying just because, and this ain't about me patronizing, okay? Like I said, my beautiful sisters who happen to be darker than myself, they or just look different than myself, they don't need my patronage, okay? I'm gonna tell you, I see things differently. Maybe it's the artist in me. Maybe it's the fact that I grew up in a diverse family. Maybe it's the fact that I had a mama who was pro-black and I was, you know what I'm saying? And there were beautiful sisters who happen to be darker than myself. And we're not even just talking complexion here. People will say it's not about the complexion, it's about her features, and it's not necessarily about her having what I would see as Afrocoid features. Some people would say, just like they've been trying to say with Olandria, it's about how your features is on your face. It's about alignment. How does it go with the rest of your face? Yeah, I can understand that. They may say it's not about her cheekbones, it's not about the prognathism. Maybe they feel that she should have more facial fat. Yeah. So it's not always, don't get me wrong, it's not always about people are racially brainwashed. It's not like in the case of Alondra. There are people, they just don't, even though I find her to be gorgeous. There are people who, that's just not the look for them. That maybe it wasn't a thing, like for instance with Taylor on Love Island and Olandria, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, just in case. Maybe in the case of Olandria, okay, maybe he just, there are those who are just not, maybe he just, it wasn't about colorism. Maybe it could have been about her features, but not necessarily her black features. Maybe it's just he's not attracted to that type of face or the way that her features fit her face. Maybe he was more attracted in the case of Taylor, who was the guy who she wanted to be with, but ended up with the white dude who supposedly accepted her, or he was, I guess, supposedly liking her from the get-go. She wanted, though, to be with this dude Taylor, but he ended up not choosing her and choosing a female, I picked Clark, that just happened to be lighter than her. Maybe this is the type of face, and I don't think she's any more mixed. I mean, from looking at her, I don't think she's any more mixed than Olandria, to be honest. I know when I see my people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think they're both very beautiful. Perhaps, for all we know, he made like a longer face or longer nose. Or, you understand what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily mean, because they both have Afrocoid noses, believe it or not. They both have Afrocoid. I see Afrocoid features on both of them. Lips, nose, eyes. Clark just happened to be of a lighter complexion. And perhaps it may not be about her having a lighter complexion. It could be just a thing of, okay, this is the type of face, or this is the type, or maybe it was just we saw that he got along with both females. He had great chemistry with both females. Maybe he felt Alondra was too jokey. I don't know. Too buddy with him. I don't know. Now, it could have just been a thing. He was still wrong, though, because he should have been up front with Olandria. But anyways, that ain't really what I want to focus on. Now, like I said, I see Olandria as gorgeous, but there are some people, they feel they're saying, this is what they're claiming. We're not saying that. They're saying that they're not attracted to Olandria's face, and it has nothing to do with race. It just, they may feel that, she has more facial, even if they don't know the words to use, but they may see her as having excessive facial prominentism, yet the rest of her features are very small. She has a small face, doesn't have much facial fat. And also, like I said, the things that people are not really talking about is when we talk about featurism, like we talk about colorism, featurism, texturism, we don't really, and talking about featurism, we're always just talking about thick lips and a wide nose. We don't really talk about facial prominentism as well as protruding cheekbones. Like think what's her name? Teyana Taylor, Dionne Warwick, protruding cheekbones, facial prominentism. Think Whoopi Goldberg. Olandria is another example. And I'm going to re-upload my video on this channel since I lost my other one on Whoopi Goldberg, why it is that people see Whoopi Goldberg. Now, as you can see here, this is a photo definitely showing Olandria's profile, showing the facial prominentism in the mouth. So this woman, although I do find, personally, Olandria just a little more attractive, but I do still see this woman as attractive. She also has like not much facial fat, but a significant amount of facial prominentism. And unlike Olandria, she has a somewhat wider nose and more. And another, also, she has Afrocoid features in her eyes, and that she has very distant eyes. But I do notice, definitely in considering Halle Bailey, that people are now, the wide set distant eyes is getting a little more accepted. But yeah, anyways, there are people, so people have responded to that person saying that this is not minstrel. This woman is, this is her comedic skit, her idea, her deciding to laugh at herself. Now, the first thing, I'm not going to lie. I was thinking some kind of minstrelly about this as well. Yeah, maybe I need to lighten up. I'm just looking at the faces that she's making and the distortion of the faces. But that is part of comedy. And I've always talked about my appreciation for comedy, including physical comedy. Like think Jim Carrey, Steve Martin, Lucille Ball. So people, I think that's a talent when you can, Eddie Murphy's good at that too, where he's an all-round genius comedian because he's good at stand-up, he's good at, imitation, impersonations, and he can do the physical comedy. I think that's a really great talent. People who know, like Eddie Murphy, like you just saw how he was in Trading Places. If you ever saw the movie Trading Places, and he knew how to look into the camera at certain moments, it's almost like they see themselves. They know the look that they're giving you into the camera. They know how, I think that's a talent where you're able to do that. And you know how people are seeing you in the camera, and you can be funnier. You can, now some people, let me see, did I just get a message? So some people would say, I wish I would have been able to easier find that comment, that maybe we as Black women, maybe we should just lighten up, or maybe I should lighten up. Because I was thinking about that, reading the comments, reading the different comments, and they're probably more than likely not by Black women, though. More than likely, people just want to laugh, like lighten up. And like maybe we need to, like, when you consider this whole recently with Tashina Arnold, how you doing, 2624? Yeah, more younger people are politically correct. Yeah, and I'm trying to be considerate of that. I'm trying to, and I appreciate that to a degree. I'm not one really from political correctness. I'm a Gen Xer, not a late Gen Xer or early one, but I'm a Gen Xer who still remembers when things were still, not so politically correct. Okay, I'm a Gen Xer who, I was born in a time where things were had begun to be more politically correct, but we still had a lot of political incorrectness. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember when you could still say the N-word in TV shows, when sitcoms, I remember like on the Jefferson Good Times, nigga, please, or nigga, what? You'd hear something like that. Even when Comic View first started. on BET hosted by D.L. Hughley, and this was in the 90s even. I remember they were still saying the N-word. So I'm kind of a little split on that because I really don't like for comedy to be honestly politically correct. I grew up listening to like Richard Pryor and Paul Mooney, and then also I'm also aware of comedians like Don Rickles, even though he's from 2 generations before my, he's from like the silent generation. And I will say, even though it's not my type of funny, but he is funny. But like there was some of that dude that was on with the Kevin Hart special, the white dude. The thing is, like, I'm telling people, where in the hell is the joke? At least Don Rickles would be funny. I don't like that type of funny. He was racist as hell, but he would be funny. Jackie Mason, and see, them Jewish comedians, they can get away with saying a lot of stuff. I'm just keeping it real. Yeah. Hashtag lighten up. Let's see it. Okay. See, you're not a black woman. You're not a quote unquote black woman. I'm still talking in black and white until we get to the point. Hopefully we'll get to the point of acknowledging that we're Yasharel. Okay. We're not just black or brown or, Now you say lighten up, so you're not a black woman. You're not a black woman. And you're definitely not a darker skinned black woman. I'm not a darker skinned black woman, but I'm still a black woman. And I still know, I still can understand. And the thing is, some people say, why women can't make fun of themselves? Like women can't. Let's talk about this woman. Now, we've just recently had, just a couple of months ago, the whole thing. Oh my gosh, why is it always freezing up here? Why is this always? Give me a second, y'all. Give me a second. This is really making it hard. I know I need to go back to just doing videos, but I don't feel like it. I don't have the passion to put all this to edit in something that may not even get that many views. Give me a second, y'all. Let me refresh this. Okay. I should be back. I should be able to now click into. I should keep this up, lighten up, hashtag lighten up. Let's see. Okay, you saying your red line on comedy is about kids and other things. Okay. Everybody be lying if we said there wasn't a point. Hey, Adam Guidry. We'd be lying if we said there wasn't a point, a red line. You know what I'm saying? We got to have a limit, okay? There are reasons for laws and limits, all right, to keep us. Things can't be totally just anything goes now. Anything is accepted. But yeah, like this. Now, not that long ago, we had the whole thing with a couple of months ago. What's the singer's name? What's her name? Young girl. Doggone it. Y'all know I deal with this daggone. It has to be the break. We gotta blame it on the menopause. It does not make sense how a name will be in my head and then it disappears. This got to be brain fog. This got to be the menopause because this is happening too much. What's her girl? The young artist, Ari Lennox. Thank you. Gosh. Yeah, so if you remember with the whole thing with Tisha Campbell not that long ago, the beautiful, and we can see that Tisha Campbell is very beautiful, and I agree with her. And Ari Lennox, she's around the same complexion as Tashina Arnold, who could be put in the category of brown or dark skin, or just dark skin, at least definitely by Hollywood standards. They would definitely see her as dark skinned by Hollywood mainstream media standards. Okay, that's usually as dark as it would get. They usually ain't trying to show sisters like a Phyllis Yvonne Stickney. Yeah. And they would definitely have to be or Cheryl Underwood. They definitely have to be like in something that's very comedic, where they could not be a love interest. And of course, I'm not saying, that's always the case, but it's been that way for a long time. But anyways, you got to understand, like I was trying to get people before they all jump on Ari Lennox and attack her, understand that Ari Lennox is of a younger generation. And even if they jump on her for being saying that the older people of the younger generation, they are more sensitive. Well, first of all, remember, Ari Lennox is a woman. Women, we are going to be a little more sensitive than men, okay? We're going to be a little more sensitive than Martin, all right? And this is one thing, like I said, that Black men have complained about in regards to Black women not being feminine enough, not being soft enough. But see, when we're told to toughen up and take it, and you got to learn how to dish it back out or whatever, so then you wonder why you get the sapphire stereotype that many of y'all also complain about so much. The Black women being quick tongue, quick to lash out, quick to snap back, rolling the neck, eye rolling, wonton neck. Oh wait, what was this up the? I'm not mocking the scriptures, but talking about the daughters of Zion walking with the neck straight forward. Well, when you're being expected to be hard all the time, and you're expected to take it and suck it up, or just give it back. If you can't give it back, then suck it up and shut up and laugh it off and all of that. Well, what do you expect? Okay, it is expected that women are not going to take things, especially like a criticism of physical, even if it's meant to be a joke. We're not going to take it as you may expect men. Men also have feelings. As who's that teacher on Beavis and Butthead? Men have feelings too. And that's the thing. They'll go into, oh well, she calls Martin short and this and that. But yeah, and if Martin, let's say, or a Martin type was to be offended or hurt by that, it's not necessarily wrong, is it? But this is the thing. You do have Black men who are talking about how, and see, also he would attack, like on the show, he would attack Pam's femininity. That's how you go at a woman's femininity, by talking about her physical features, whether you're talking about her hair or something that you feel make her look less feminine, or calling her an animal, which is totally on a whole nother level than just calling somebody short. But even in Pam's character, calling Martin short, that's a way of attacking his masculinity, or a way of shrinking his masculinity. That short can be a phallus, like a reference to his phallus. You know what I'm saying? Even though she was talking about his height, but it's still a way, just like with the maid Florence's character, how she would be, even though George Jefferson, played by Sherman Hemsley on the Jeffersons, even though he was this very, very successful Black business-man, had this a certain amount of, could be seen as power. Even he was even on the show was standing on a British white man's back, Mr. Bentley, slamming doors in the face of quote unquote hunkies. And yeah, but yet you still had the Sapphire character, and I love Florence's character, don't get me wrong, but she was still calling him, reminding him that he's short, or he comes up short. You understand what I'm saying? At least in the height. Yeah, but see, this is why I'm also talking, but a lot of these brothers, they talk like we need to be more like Pam. That's why I was like, come on now, y'all say this, and y'all got this love for Tashina Arnold. Even though you say this, do you really want the Pam girlfriend? Deep down, you want the Tisha Campbell type. I'm not talking about just based on how they look. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, even if they were more physically attracted to Tashina Arnold, deep down they talk as if they would rather have the way they talk, as if they would rather have a girlfriend to be more like Gina's character. I'm not talking about how they look, okay? Even if they prefer how Pam looks. Okay, and I'm not talking, I'm talking about, they say that they want someone to be like, they act as if the way that they had been responding, like, oh, Tashina, she's our girl. And her and Martin Lawrence, they're good friends in real life, but he chose her. They probably more than likely, he's probably closer friends with her than Tisha Campbell, even though I believe he knew of Tisha Campbell first. Yeah, but he became friends. Yeah, him and Tashina Arnold. But we're told, just laugh it off. And some people feel that maybe, if we just lightened up and laugh things off, as if we haven't been doing that for years, though. But they feel that maybe things would be easier with it. This is the way that we should combat, the texturism, featurism, colorism, racism, and rejection. Even, take it back. We've had for years women just, if not laughing it off, then just playing along into certain stereotypes, or like for instance in the case of Hattie McDaniel, you see the actress, she ended up being the first to win first quote unquote black actor, period, male or female, to win an Academy Award, playing a role, playing a stereotypical role. Now you say, well, that's different, this is different. This isn't, this is something, this is different. This is more rooted in racism here. So this is different. This ain't, there was nothing comedic about, And Hattie McDaniel, in her defense, she said, if she wasn't playing it, she pretty much said, I'm not saying, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but she said pretty much that if she wasn't playing a maid, she would have to actually be a maid. And she compared the money that she would be making. And for that time, even though we wouldn't accept that now, we wouldn't accept that excuse now. But for back then, I'm not mad at her. Why on earth would I be mad at her and take that out on her, especially considering that time? Now, today, I'm not really trying to hear that, but even though some people say it ain't that much different today, but no, I couldn't accept that today. But back then, no, I'm not mad at Hattie McDaniel. And, she had to, play into making herself less attractive. Some of these actresses would even put on more weight. Yes, literally. Like in the case of who's the actress who played was it Beulah? I can't think of her name offhand, who also played Mammy Rose. Yeah, if they weren't big enough, they would pad the breasts, they would pad the clothes, or they put on weight. In the case of the actress, the other actress I'm thinking of, she was also one of the first black women in television playing Mammy Rose. But yeah, she actually put on weight. You would, and that's something I want to talk about. I've talked about it before. There ain't nothing I talked about up here that I ain't more than likely talked about years ago. But I talked about that I think in my video or stream I did years ago, the making of a sassy black woman. And there are certain black women who, I believe have felt comfortable, being more comfortable and accepted by society, being overweight, obese, as if we're, safe or less likely to be seen as a threat, or just even just respected more, being overweight. Yeah, but some people feel, we gotta laugh at ourselves. We gotta laugh. And now, maybe that's the case, like with Cheryl Underwood. Now, y'all know I talked about her recently. Now, I don't care to click in to watch, I got Netflix, but I ain't trying to watch that. I noticed that it's like one of the first recommended when you click into Netflix, the Kevin Hart roast. I don't care to watch it, but I've seen the clips, people talking about it, and I've addressed it myself. Yeah. And Cheryl Underwood, although black people, and more specifically even black women and black men and black people in general, have been very much disrespected in this comedic skit, even those who are gone now, who said to be gone now, the victims of brutality, of racial injustice and brutality, even being joked on. Okay, and Cheryl Underwood is, it's comedy, it's, this is a roast. And that's the thing. Like I said, that's what we don't need to be doing, roast with these people. I had just watched something, a clip showing the roast, and I talked about this too when he died, the roast of, I talked about this, the dude from Full House, Bob Saget. And they were saying some disgusting jokes. I just seen a clip recently. They were saying some disgusting jokes towards the Mary-Kate and Ashley Yeah, they were, I believe, yeah, by that time they did this roast, they were, I believe, uh adults. Still, they were joking on them as if they were still little girls. And when they were on that show, they were the littlest of the girls. They were very young. They were pretty much babies on that show. And the jokes they were telling, these PDF jokes, and I'm like, no, we can't be doing stuff like roast. I'm sorry, we can't be doing roast with these people. I don't think we should be doing, if you are allowed to say whatever you want and it's all comedy, it's all good, no holds bar, I don't think we need to be doing these such shows with these people. And especially when I remember, even though I don't trust him either, but when Cat Williams was talking about how they don't even let a lot of the, like, they want to totally dominate or narrate or tell the black comedians what jokes to say and stuff, saying that they give the white comedians all this freedom. That's what he claimed. But that's pretty much how he put it. But they're telling, they're pretty much directing them on how they should joke and everything. And they were telling him to tell all these "you so black," Flavor Flav so black jokes. Even while Cat Williams claimed his kids were in the audience listening to that. I'm like, why would his kids have been there? That's just crazy. But, Flavor Flav just, laughing it all up. Hey, yo, I'm getting paid. I'm getting the attention. I'm getting paid. Getting attention probably would not have gotten otherwise. And there are some people, just like when we talk about just pearly things, clowning women, it's giving her attention from men that she otherwise would not have gotten. They're even like leaving comments claiming that they would marry her. Yeah, right. But it's getting her attention and money. She already had money, so I don't even think this is so much about money with a person like just pearly things. But being that she is, by a lot of her men, perhaps considered unattractive, this is getting her attention that she wouldn't normally get. Now, in the case of Cheryl Underwood, let me tell you, she is not, because there are people who would say, yeah, like, for instance, those of the so-called exoticals camp community in YouTube, if you call it a community, they'll use somebody like Cheryl Underwood, just like they did with Leslie Jones, and trying to say, well, this is how the typical unambiguous black woman look. Why are we ashamed? Look, in the case of Cheryl Underwood, her being the reason that there are those who would see her as unattractive, it is not about this idea of black features. Yes, she's been like compared to Wesley Snipes. Actually, she looks very nice. And what it is with it's not about, I've been watching her and she's cute in her own way. Okay. Now I don't put up there with like a laundry or no, but she's cute in her own way. And we're gonna talk Charlotte. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not going to say what sounds nice, all right? With Cheryl Underwood, so, and just keeping it real, with Cheryl Underwood, it's not about unambiguous black features. For the most part, it's about, people are looking at her teeth and they looking at, she got a big head. That's just what I'm showing Bette Midler here because, like Bette Midler, she got a small kind of, her frame, she got a natural cute frame that's kind of small, kind of on the petite tip. This is how I remember her back in the 90s when she first, back in like early 90s. She got a petite, but she just got a long head. She got a big head. I got a big head too. I'm one of the big head people. Just with me, I'm kind of more in the Tisha Campbell where it's a little more round and wide. But I got one of them big heads too. Like, even if I lose weight, even when I was small, and I was very small, believe it or not, and short, but I still got a big head. I've always been, and somebody said, oh, that's a stereotype. Light-skinned females with big heads. These are things I'm learning, even though I've been alive for over 50 years. But I've been learning in YouTube just some new things. I was like, when was that? I've been told that me being called big-headed, because, I said I was teased, especially when I was skinny. I was actually teased more, called Pink Panther, lollipop head, this, and that. And then I was told that, oh, that see, that's the thing that they do, light skinned girls calling them big head. I was like, what? A big head is a big head. When did that become a light skinned girl thing? Y'all got that from Martin. Tisha Campbell had a big head, just like I got a big head. It is what it is. Oh, she was a philanthropist. I think I did learn that. Too. Sick of 24. Yeah. See, me in the case of Cheryl, see, my head is big, but short and wide. That's the thing. I got more on the lemon head, lollipop head thing. Whereas with Cheryl Underwood, it's more of a long head. Just like, I wouldn't say that's a race thing. Yeah, skull has something to do with, yeah, your skull shape can be determined by your quote unquote race, even though race is not a real concept. But what they have categorized is, usually black folks have dolichocephalic heads, but that's not always the case. But yeah, her head just like, and actually, her skull shape is actually not all that typical to Black Americans, to be honest. I mean, to quote unquote Negroid people. She actually has a kind of longer, more Caucasian shaped head. But yeah, people are looking at, her mouth. That's mainly what they're looking at. Her mouth, her gums showing. And that's not necessarily just an, Africoid thing. But yeah, she just like Bette Midler. But Bette Midler also being a funny woman. Now Bette Midler, she's a Jewish heritage background, more so. But she also got, she's another person, kind of got a head that's a little bigger than a body, smaller, and she's also been able to laugh at herself and, probably understand how people perceive her. It's just like we've had, we all know of people who are overweight, male or female, like a Dom DeLuise or Louis Anderson. I remember Louis Anderson, the late Louis Anderson, and Dom DeLuise, but definitely Louis Anderson. Y'all may remember him from Coming to America. He was the big white guy that was working at McDowell's. Yeah, but he used to always in stand up. I remember him back in the 80s in comedy. He was always making jokes about himself being fat. And we probably all, I know my late auntie, who was always, as far back as I could remember, she was always obese. Her husband, her two daughters, they were always, like this overweight family. And they were always, definitely my auntie, she was always cracking on herself, being fat, how big she was. And she knew my grandmother would be a little critical. Ooh, you got so big. But my auntie would laugh it off. Now, was that really about her being in pain? I don't even think that my auntie, I think she just got so used to it. Like this, I don't even think that when talking about mental, emotional pain, I don't even think that even affected her like that, because she just was so used to it. But people don't know that my auntie also had something very, very traumatic to happen to her when she was young, because I couldn't believe they showed me that and this is the auntie I lived with her husband and two daughters when I was a child, back and forth, the one who was Jehovah's Witness, along with my grandma became a Jehovah's Witness too, my mom's mom. But yeah, her and her husband, they were both, and she eventually got into the morbidly obese category. But yeah, she was jolly. She was definitely that Black woman, jolly, always laughing, even though she was a sassy woman, but she was always, and she laughed at herself a lot. And sometimes I would feel for her. But she just talking about how my mom, her sister, was so beautiful and was so talented and so smart. And I would tell that auntie, I'm like, you're beautiful too. Like, she felt like she would just, the way she would just laugh things off. Like, all she could be was a housewife, like, and she was content with her, like, but she would laugh things off a lot. And I was like, but you know how to sew. Like, that is, stop saying that you got no talent. You know how to sew. And and I envy because, because my mother and we're artists and everything, but we never learned how to sew. I realized that I suck at sewing, which I want to master. Like, how much I envy that you could sew really good, make your own children's clothes. But, I would try to, help her feel better, my auntie. So we had a very close bond. We had developed a very close bond, my auntie. But yeah, I noticed how she would always be just, laughing, whether she was cracking on us, or just, she was so used to people reminding her of her weight. And especially when you consider how things were back then. And I think that's why also I'm kind of sensitive to certain things. Like when I see certain people, like when I saw the Visions of the Asian channel, when they're being very insensitive, because you don't know what may have led to that, like with obesity and yeah, you don't know what might be and because come to find out she had something very traumatic to happen to her. I'm talking like sexual abuse, very bad. And I remember somebody showed me a picture of that very auntie at like 12 years old or something, and she wasn't fat. I couldn't believe it. Because even with a high school picture of she's over, I couldn't believe that once upon a time. Yeah, because she was one of all of my grandmother's like 10 plus kids, she was the only one, and she had another daughter who was voluptuous. The rest of them, and my mama eventually became over, she had 6 kids, but she was the only one, yeah, that was, fat. And her children, so I really assumed that that's how she was all her life. But anyways. Yeah. So some people, and I will say that my auntie, she did outlive. I will say that she did outlive my mother by far. My mother had a more stressful life. Well, my mother did also, smoke marijuana, but that's it. My mother didn't do cigarettes, alcohol, or anything else. But I do think that, yeah, my auntie being this strict Jehovah's Witness who stayed married until her husband died in 2004, my uncle, and she was very much taking care of our husband, where she was a housewife. Yeah. And he didn't want her working outside. They met supposedly on the job, but he wanted his wife to, he had very old-fashioned values. He was a Jehovah's Witness elder, he became, and he very much took care of her where he wanted her to be in the home, sewing the clothes for the kids, cooking, and all of that, and she seemed content with her life. And she ended up like living past my mother by nearly 20 years. My mom passed in 2003 and she passed in 2021. And she lived, and she was older than my mother, born 1946. So she lived into her 70s. And usually, and you got to understand, at one point she got at that morbidly obese. After falling and having to be in a wheelchair, she got into the morbidly obese category. But she was able to outlive, and she was just a person who laughed a lot and, smiled a lot. And she still did, the door, the field service with Jehovah's Witness. If she couldn't do it outside, she did it over the phone. She, stayed going to the Kingdom Hall. And she stayed jovial. And some people feel like maybe we need to not take stuff so serious. Now, you got to understand, too, the difference between her and my mom. My mom eventually, in her younger years, became, I guess you could say, my mom began to roll with the militant pro-blacks more. My mother became very, very pro-black. Whereas my auntie and uncle, they didn't care about, they would actually get on me and show me scriptures warning me about pride. Well, I was coming to them with all that I learned from my mama on black pride and all that stuff. They believed in this colorblind. Oh, goodness. And they sure wasn't with. When my brothers, acknowledged that they were Yasharel, changing their last name and stuff even, they sure wasn't with my siblings and I kind of going in that direction. My auntie definitely, she sees, no. So she was totally, and I remember we showed her the scripture in Job 30:30. Even though I know that woman and read the Bible and stuff, she was kind of shocked where Job says, I am black. We showed her this. She was like, well, I'll be. Now, I'm not saying she was a coon or anything like that. I'm just saying. But my point on that is, some people feel like, maybe we need to lighten up. If, I will say that she did outlive my mom. And I think she had a less stressful life, because usually people of that size, they don't live as, into, definitely not into their 70s, but she did have a less stressful life. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for laughing at yourself, but I gotta. You're right. Let me read what you're saying. Being able to laugh at yourself means you have supreme confidence because nothing can get you off your square. Yeah, the thing is, Anna, do we laugh too much? Because and I'm gonna keep saying, for the sake of us being on the same page, at least in this video, we as quote unquote black people, is there a point we laugh off too much? Is there a point? Because, like I said, I've said this over and over again, and Tariq Nasheed took what I said for his videos when I talked about us and our ability to roast and gut on each other. I said, and the roots going back to perhaps playing the dozens and all. I talked on this initially, not Tariq Nasheed. He just heard me talking about it. And very shortly after, the live stream talking about it. Yeah, our ability to cope and our ability to get through things, by laughing at ourselves and making other people laugh. And like Karis One was saying in some documentary, he's like let's say you are tied to an electric chair. You're about to you're about to be put to death right now, and then you say something like I think your wife is very beautiful, and say something funny, and like, oh, let me give him a little more time to live. He's saying that, like, basically saying that's the state of black people. We find these ways, if it mean to make you laugh or laugh at ourselves. This is a way that it's been part of our survival. That's crazy, ain't it? It has been part of our survival. What you say too? Plus size people were treated very bad back in the day. Yeah, it is only in the past 10 years when some things have changed. Oh yeah, but the thing is, because you can just see with them TV shows of the past, like all the jokes on Rerun. It wasn't an episode. They weren't reminding Rerun that he was fat on what's happening. And and of course, Married with Children wasn't that long ago. I noticed though, this is something I noticed though in comedy, and I talked about this. It seemed like the black males could almost like they were comfortable with black women being fat, like Shirley Hemphill, the mama. And I'm not saying I wanted them to be taunted or teased. Hell no. I'm glad that they were more respected. But I noticed when it came to black males being fat, like Uncle Phil, Rerun, Bookman, that was like a no-no, where it's like almost, yeah, of course. And, there was probably white women comfortable with the funny, fat black woman, like she had more respect. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why we wonder why it is that black women are more overweight. Is it because we're lazier? Now, we know better than that. Hell no. All right. Our work history proves that to be obviously ridiculous. But why is it that we don't prioritize, being slim? And perhaps we are a little more comfortable, or not as likely to be uncomfortable being overweight. And there are some of us who do feel like we would be respected more. We're respected more if we look a certain way. If we, I do believe that there are some black women feel like they would be safer or more respected if they were overweight. I do feel that. I know that sounds crazy to some of y'all. I'm not saying all of us. You can't, like, something ridiculous. That's ridiculous to think. No woman wants to be overweight. I do think that there are some. I'm not saying that they wouldn't trade places with a thinner, but I just feel that there are some where it's not as a priority, perhaps for those reasons. Especially if, but yeah, this idea of laughing at yourself. Now, women are supposed to be perceived as pretty, dainty, but it's great that women have been able to laugh at themselves. Like I was talking about, And that's a way, and it is a way, being able to laugh at yourself, turn what they would say, turn lemons into lemonade. Like if you, let's say if you've been teased about having a big head or looking funny or long nose or wide nose or whatever, and you able to turn it, like even in the case of the comedian, the African comedian Michael Blackson. You know, he said, "Yeah, I'm mixed too. My mama's black and my daddy black as hell." You know, I found that to be funny. I'm not saying that I think it's funny to make colorist jokes against yourself, but I kind of wanted to take that line myself and hit certain people with it, trying to claim that we mixed. But you know, I do find, you know, Michael Blackson to be funny. Some people saying we shouldn't be laughing at certain things about ourselves, especially when these things that, you know, we have no control over. There have been people who have used that to brutalize us. Yeah, but like in the case of Bette Midler, considering her features, who some, you know, features that some people may feel is not so attractive or odd, having, you know, like Cheryl Underwood, having a long, I think her hair looks nice here, not because it's straighter hairstyle, no, but you got to consider when you have a certain shaped face or certain head. I think now some people prefer the afro, especially considering that Cheryl. See, in the case of Cheryl Underwood, she is kind of raccooning. She has been. I talked about this. I'm sorry. In the case of Cheryl Underwood, it is not just a thing of laughing yourself off. I think she really kind of don't give a damn. She just more so about that money too. Because like when she did this little stunt here of pulling off her wig, y'all remember this, when she was on The View and made sure that her hair was, now why wasn't her hair braided to the back? It's like they wanted to see her hair looking all gray and like this underneath. Now the other females, they took their little extensions off and they made sure that they were still looking polished, right? They wanted her, the darker skinned, somewhat heavier woman, to look. I'm surprised she didn't have her hair in some pickaninny style underneath. I believe, what was it, some Donnie View of one of these shows. I believe this is like some sort of little humiliation ritual, and she got paid to do this. I believe this was scripted. Because who just on the show, they could just slide a wig off like that. You gonna have your hair pinned down, glued down, something. Bobby pins. She was just able to just slide it off. This was if y'all don't realize, this show was scripted. Now, I do believe that you have some of these comedians and they're doing little jokes and skits and stuff for the pleasure of those who just want to laugh at us. And then she goes even further in responding to a white woman, Heidi Klum, who has about a white woman, Heidi Klum, who decided to keep her biracial children's nappy natural hair. She responds like basically saying natural Africoid hair, Negroid hair is ugly or yucky or however she said. So I'm sorry, there's some raccooning on the part of Cheryl Underwood. Now some say this has been part of her way of coping, but there's a point where you're kind of being a little selfish and you don't give a damn about how this may be affecting other sisters. And I know it's like, why should we care? Who are they? You know. But yeah, I'm sorry. In the case of Cheryl Underwood, this is a little raccooning. Now, I was able to accept her before, and she's always feeling need to stress. She's Republican and all that. But Cheryl, this is some raccooning. There is a line. Oh yeah, I was just saying, even though, yeah, so now you see she's rocking an afro. This is the same person who was describing afro as yucky. But I still do think she looks better with the style. It's not about the texture here. I'm not talking about, it's about, you know, I look at what fits the shape of your face. But, hey, yo, this is how she wants to rock it. It's all good. You know, I just feel like when you already kind of got big head, you know, I love afro too. Don't get me wrong. I would love it. And who knows? I have been up. Y'all seen me in videos, my earlier videos, when I did the big chop and rocking it natural and all. But yeah, don't get me wrong. We should be able to laugh at ourselves And like in the case of Tashina Arnold, getting back to now, yeah, Cheryl Underwood. Oh, but before I get on Tashina Arnold, another person I want to bring up, this comedian here, Leslie Jones. She's another one who, knows how to laugh at herself. She'll do the faces. And that's another thing, too. Like I said, I appreciate physical comedy. And one part of physical comedy is distorting your face or making, doing funny facial expressions and all that. Faces that might make you look ugly or unattractive. Okay, now Leslie Jones, she's a woman. She already has, facial prognathism. I don't see her as having an ugly face at all. I see her as more attractive facially than well, forgive me for making a comparison, but than Cheryl Jones. I don't see her as having an ugly face at all. In fact, I have a cousin who looked very similar, and she was a really, really cute baby. Well, she's some years younger than me. Very, very cute. I'm not, saying that she's no longer cute, but I'm just saying she was adorable, adorable baby little girl. Yeah, I think she was born when I was like 5, but she was a very adorable, adorable baby, adorable little girl. But she suddenly hit like a growth spurt. I remember like seeing her again when she's like just 5 years younger than me. I remember seeing her again when we were like teenagers, and she was just really tall. Now her father, it's funny, I'm short, but I got really tall people in my family. Even though I'm very short. A lot of my brothers, they're like, my shortest brother might be 5'8", 5'9", but yeah, that's what's crazy. And I think that's what led to me having certain insecurities about my height, having certain tall people in my family, even though my mom and I were kind of on the short tip. I'm probably of the shortest in my family, in my entire family. But yeah, I have a cousin, and I think now I remember the Exoticals, they were trying to claim that, like, oh, Leslie looked like, yeah, it's obvious she's an unambiguous Black woman. Unambiguous just basically meaning that there's no confusion. You're not looking at her thinking, oh, is she mixed with something? But the thing is, like with the Exoticals, particularly that Exoticals United trying to convince everyone that she's trying to limit, saying basically if Black women don't look like Whoopi Goldberg, or like she's always using these examples of Black women who has been, some people have deemed as unattractive by mainstream media standards. Yeah. But then she'll claim that Shelly, who was in Love Island season 7, who definitely has unambiguous Black features, she'll claim that, oh, but she's not really, she's exotic though. But yeah, this is an unambiguous Black woman, and as I said, like in the case of Shelly, Love Island, she is also an unambiguous Black woman, where you look at her and you're not thinking, is she mixed with something? No, you're not. Wait, hold on. She is also an unambiguous Black woman, meaning that there's no confusion. There's no confusion. But how is she an exotical, as by their terms? She's not. They're both unambiguous Black women. Whether you see one as attractive and the other one is not so attractive, they're both clearly Black women. That's all that unambiguous means. Okay, it's not a bad word. I know we hear and we think unattractive. No, I'm glad I am an unambiguous Black woman despite my complexion. I don't want any confusion. Okay, yeah, but they're trying to say, oh, she's a typical Black woman. No, actually, she doesn't look like the typical Black woman. Okay, because all it is, because with Leslie Young, the typical Black woman, she's very, very tall. This is her younger. Yeah, and my cousin, she's kind of sensitive about that. She was kind of sensitive about that. You know, but she was automatically feared, and you know, they may have kind of played on that. But yeah, Leslie Jones. I don't know why I was about to say Leslie Uggams. Leslie, you know, from Roots. Leslie Jones. She's not this ugly woman to me. Yeah, she'll do them faces. She'll play on knowing that she has facial prognatism. I'm telling you, I got a cousin looks similar to her, but she's not typical in that she is taller than most women, definitely most black women, almost as if, and that might have also, you know, it's almost as if it's a pituitary gland thing, or, you know, and then some people are just taller. And you see, you know, her younger playing on basketball. Yeah, it's like almost like this growth spurt that with my cousin, she's extremely tall, like over 6 feet. No, she wasn't bald headed, but the way, okay, I know how we usually have our hair under, as a woman, I know how we usually, Cheryl Underwood, have our hair under wigs. I'm telling you, ain't no one, you're going to be on a show and you just got a wig where you could just slide off like that. No, women don't wear wigs like that. It wasn't pinned down, it wasn't glued down. That was obviously scripted. To have her hair looking kind of messy underneath. It wasn't even braided to the back. It wasn't pinned down. They wanted that, and that's why they saved her for last. The order that they did it in, and having them take off do their little natural hair review, the order, and they made it like, oh, this is just something we're gonna spontaneously do. Oh, what the hell? No, that was scripted ahead of time. That was scripted for them to do that and take off their wigs, and they wanted her to be last. That's was, and then next thing you know, you had Tommy Sotomayor and people up in here making videos. Oh, look at her. What did Tommy say? Oh, I see now why black women must wear product in their hair. But this is the same guy that criticized black women for wearing weaves. Yeah, they wanted it to go viral. They wanted, notice that there is a GIF made of her taking off her wig. You know what they were doing. And I do believe that they giving them little points. Like, okay, now you can get an HBO special or something. Do this, say this little thing. Make a joke on black women being, comparing them dark-skinned women to your skillet. Because some of them are revealing that they've been told to tell jokes, certain jokes. Make nappy-headed you so black jokes. Do something, or even allow yourself to be humiliated. I ain't no fool. But yeah, she's not, to say that the average, and I'm not saying that that's something she should be ashamed of. It is what it is. But she is very tall. And most Caucasian men in the Western world are taller than black men in the Western world. And yet she's taller than a lot of Caucasian men, as you can see right here. So even with even with her, obviously that had, I'm not saying it's necessarily a mutation, like she's got a, gonna have a heart problem or something. I'm not saying that necessarily, but I believe that her height, it also may have had effect, on her looks. But it's great that she can, laugh at herself. But some people would say that black women can't really afford like the white women, being that there's such a promotion. Yeah, you got the promotion of, Bette Midler, very successful. And see also her talent, her ability to sing and act and perform, it makes up for. I'm not saying that she need to make up for, but being that, Hollywood is show business, glamour, when you're a woman, it helps even more so to be pretty, what is considered pretty, beautiful. But yeah, she definitely has the talent, Bette Midler. But you see how they've made, she's someone whose features they can easily make into a caricature. They've done that with Marilyn Monroe too, though. But some could say, well, with white women, they could do this because they also show you tons of white women who are not looking, who are attractive, who are feminine, who are shown as feminine, dainty, not goofy or silly, or what is seen as unattractive. Whereas we don't have that balance with black women. So some feel that, we don't need another black female making a funny face. And some, and see what I was looking at with that one woman with the comedic skit I showed you, maybe that's my own sensitive. Maybe I do need to lighten up. But with that woman I showed you in the skit, okay. And as a person myself who has rather large features, I used to be teased over my lips, even though, yeah, my nose is the widest thing on my face. I got a wide nose, wide mouth. But you got to understand, when I was a kid, of course, my face may have been smaller, which includes my nose. I always had a wide nose. But what I'm assuming is that, because I don't understand why it was that I wasn't really teased about my nose, but I was teased. I was definitely teased about my lips when I don't have any childhood pictures. But I was definitely teased about my lips as a kid. And I've talked about that many times. And probably because although my face was smaller when I was younger, I always had a big head, big puppy face. But maybe my lips, they stayed the same size. So they appeared. And you probably see that as I may lose weight. But my lips, and also from a profile view, I got protruding large lips and a little, somewhat prognathism. Even if it's not as much as Whoopi Goldberg, you can see here. Now, this is a picture I sent to my husband before we were married, but, still in college and school. I was worried about a test. I sent him this picture through the laptop. I was worried about not passing a test. And then this is the 4 pictures. So I sent this to him because I was scared. Test time. I was in college still. And when I passed. So me still in my 30s. Before the test and after I passed. He's in his 20s, I was in my 30s. And even with myself, yeah, what was it? I couldn't share the picture because I got too much stuff uploaded. But it was a picture. That was the last picture I was trying to upload for this stream. Now, it's okay to laugh here. Okay, remember I told y'all it was my daughter. It was a picture. I was trying to show off, but I can't upload that picture. I can't show it. Yeah. I was trying to, wait, only way I can show it is through, well, anyways, y'all remember I had shared on my community tab. I had uploaded a picture. I wanted to copy Janet Jackson's eye makeup from the All For You video, right? I wanted to, I wanted to, yeah, I was like happy. I wanted to share the, and you can see I got rather wide features, as you can see. But I wanted to share the yeah, the All For You video, right? I wanted to kind of copy or something similar to that eye makeup, because now we're doing shorts up in here and I'm having a little fun being a girl. Yeah, so I took a picture of something and my daughter was like, why y'all older people always be all up close on the camera? And she was curious. I said it was too close. The picture was too close. Like, she didn't say this, but I don't know, I felt she was alluding to like, that's gonna make my nose look wider, something like that. She didn't say it. Maybe it was just me. So I was like, what you trying to say? So what you trying to say? Wait, where's the picture at? Like, what you trying to say? Like, you telling me to do something, like, I ain't saying that. Like, you said, so I said, I'm gonna show a picture even closer. Wait, I said, I'm gonna do this picture here. Yeah, you see all lips and nose. I said, I'm gonna do this picture here. And that's what, and so I had left a message. And what was ironic, maybe it was it, do you think it was Yas Will? I don't know. But what was ironic, Yeah, I had also left also a message on featurism, soft features versus, wasn't even thinking about no dang on exotical. Yeah, that's when the exoticals united. I get a certain instigator, I guess, brought her attention to my community post. That's when she decided, because I'm wondering, where the heck all these great weirdos coming in my posting to me? Yeah, because Exoticals United decided to share my. She didn't realize she messed with the wrong one. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about her. Because I'm like wondering, why is they coming to my channel? Because she thinks she can go around TikTok and see, yeah, YouTube and sharing people's stuff. So she used to doing that with people. People who may be just talking about themselves, or, and I don't like that. Let's say they may be talking about how they feel about their 4C hair or whatever. Yeah, she like, girl, you wasn't watching. Were you not paying attention? I ain't the one to be, you should be familiar with me, girl. I ain't the one to be messing with. Yeah, so I was, so I was like leaving a message on featurism and all that. No, my daughter was, I wouldn't say, but I was like, what you trying to say? So I would say, let me post this. I'm gonna even make sure that you see the eye makeup make my eyes look small. I'm gonna really make sure you see the, at the time. Yeah, my daughter didn't mean no harm. It is true though. A lot of us old, that is very true. I know certain old people always be the camera that, like, they want, like us older folks want us, want y'all to see up our nostrils or something. It's funny though. Yeah, and I have a sense of humor. I can laugh at myself. Yeah, I got a sense of humor. I know I'm looking goofy as hell, but yo, I got a sense of humor. Of course. But is there a point where you're just, is there a point where, come on now, you just clowning yourself? Is it a point where you're being fun, okay, versus being a damn clown or a jester just for the entertainment of others? Is there a point where you're kind of sacrificing yourself and your dignity, or as a woman, your femininity? Is there a certain point though? And do we do this too much? Are we laughing too much? Like I said, now there have been women, attractive women. Like, there's nothing wrong with women. We should be able to laugh at ourselves too. Of course, men are not as likely to be judged based on how they look. Or where women, that's one of the first things that people, the first perception: are you pretty or not? So this is something that men don't quite understand. Before the crew, why women gotta wear makeup? Why women? And then sometimes too, this is what you gotta understand too. Girls just want to have fun. Remember, Cyndi Lauper also said, "When the working day is done, Garwin." Girls just want to have fun. A lot of times, we're not just doing this for the opposite sex or the tournament. A lot of times, it's just fun. I get it now. It took me years to get it. Why females with the fingernails? And notice in my little short, I wanted y'all to see my fingernails that my grandchild did. I think she did a great job, and it makes you feel good. I like, but I ain't gonna lie though. It's just like with these lashes. When you ain't used to filling stuff, yeah. See, y'all don't know it's tough being a girl though too. Cause I'm trying to pick up this stuff, and these nails ain't even that long, and I'm trying to get used to it. But it does make you feel. Like, I didn't understand. Remember, I was just talking about why would you get your toes done, your toenails? Who's looking at your toenails? But when I got dressed up for my birthday and stuff, with considering the shoes I had on, I found myself, I need to paint my toenails. It's not. Yes, of course, I consider how my husband sees me, but it's also how you see yourself. It's fun. These are things that girls do. It's fun. Girls put a lot of times we do these makeup videos. We don't even be thinking of the opposite sex. A lot of times girls do this for other girls, showing off. And I'm not saying for XYZ sexual reasons necessarily, but we like showing off our artworks, showing off the makeup we got that we were able to get Fenty or MAC. These are just these are also just the fun things of being a girl, and I get it. I was what they used to call a tomboy, but I get it. And there is also a goofy side. That's one thing I liked about Missy Elliott. Missy Elliott was able to tap into that, because black girls, We're actually goofy. We like having fun. We like being goofy and silly too. Me and my friends, we was goofy as hell. Embarrassing each other outside. We were goofy as hell. What I liked about like Missy Elliott, like with the Rain video, for instance, and yeah, she a big girl, and supposedly Missy Elliott wanted to. It was said that Missy Elliott. Hold on, let me move this picture. It was said that Missy Elliott wanted to be a singer more so, but they said being at her size and everything that she would do better as a rapper. And she also got the thing kind of with the mouth kind of similar to Cheryl Underwood, with the teeth somewhat probably where the gums are kind of showing. But it's very cute. I think I don't know. I always felt Missy Elliott was cute. I'm not the opposite sex, and I am heterosexual. But I thought, because I remember, who was it? What was it dude? Was it the one dude before I got high? He had made a song like kind of dissing. Well, there was a little diss to Missy Elliott comparing herself to Holly Berry. And yes, Holly Berry's very, she was just being funny. Don't I look like a Holly? Remember in the song where she compares herself to Holly Berry? She was just being funny. But who is it? What's his name? Afro Man, was that his name? Before I got high, dude that recently like gotten some. But he had like a little comical song where he was like video where he was like how dare Missy Elliott compare herself to Holly Berry or something. But no, Missy Elliott's not Holly Berry, but she's cute. I think Missy Elliott, I think she, I don't know. I think that, and even though she got like with the teeth where, her gums, kind of got the P. Diddy thing where their mouth is always kind of open. But I think that can be in its own way attractive. I think it's cute. Kind of like a kid, you think cute, you think youthful. But what I loved about Missy Elliott, she was able to tap into and capture that black girl goofiness, that silliness, that's still cool. That was what Missy Elliott was able to tap into. She like that black girl, silly, funny, like my friends and I, that we can relate to, but it's still cool. It ain't like straight weirdo. You know what I'm saying? Like, see, even with her with Lil Kim here dancing. This is how, and I worry that we as black females, I do worry that some of us getting a little too uptight and losing our sense of humor. Because we're really fun to be with. Brothers know this. They know we cool as hell and we funny as hell. Yeah, she lost weight. Yeah, see, too Missy is older. You find that you're going to have to lose that weight, especially when you have certain health issues. Whereas, before she probably was just moving and dancing just as freely. Having her stuff like Linda Blair, Exorcist. Yeah, she's like that. That's why we loved this. That's why we was able to, see, if I'm going to laugh at myself, I'm going to be more like Miss Yelly. I ain't trying to, I ain't just trying to make white folks laugh. I'm just, if they happen to laugh, they laugh. But I think there's a difference. There's Cheryl Underwood when she's just relating to us. And then there's Cheryl Underwood when I can tell she's doing a little something for the mainstream who want to laugh at us. I know the difference. I'm not stupid. I know when it's raccooning. I know when it's self-degradation. That's what I would think. You know what I'm saying? There's no way. Like when I went back to college, some of them young females, they ain't getting it. They, like, why these guys want to be at my table? This older woman. Why they want to be at Granny table? Cause I can laugh at myself. Like, I mean, it's not about. I wasn't laughing at them. I could laugh. Period. Because it was just like I went back to college. Yeah, and all the girls was cool with me too for the most part. But there was some like there was a little bit of because the young brothers and older brothers, they like being at my table. They like being around me. And and I ain't on no pick me stuff. Like you didn't hear me putting down other females to get in good. Hell no. I'd never do that. Hell no. And there was guys and girls, they wanted to be around me. Now I can't say it was exactly the same for me in high school because it didn't totally find who I was. You understand what I'm saying? By that time, me going back to college, and even I realized even in high school I came to a certain realization of who I was and who I am, but I wasn't totally there yet. But yeah. But it was like, for instance, there was this female, I went back to college. She was, of course, millennial, younger than me, older millennial. But she was very cute. But I noticed that she would she'd always have her face in a certain, and I realized she was afraid to smile. Because only time you would really see her overbody is when she would smile. Which otherwise she was real pretty. So she kept this face, kind of like with Alondria's resting face. Some people see as more beautiful than when she smiles. Then they saying that because I've heard her being compared to the Gremlin and the Grinch and all that. But yeah, this female, yeah, and this was this female at the college. She happened to be a light-skinned female though. Unlike a lot, but I was noticing we were cool and stuff. But I was noticing she was like always when we were joking, and then I realized I didn't say nothing. But I'm like, she's scared to smile. She is afraid to smile. That's sad. You don't want to get, like Miss Seeley where you covering, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to be like that. Oh no. I went back to college, I was like the mid 2000s. Around the time, I was up in YouTube doing the list. You started, yeah, definitely 2008. Yeah, 2001. Oh my gosh, I was in the office, my own office and everything. I was too busy working and volunteer working. Initially went to college in the 90s, and that was a difference here. Well, by the time I went back to college, these young millennials, and 2000, that was a whole different. I knew what was up with me. You know what I'm saying? Like. Even a lot of the clothes I was getting, I was looking fly, but a lot of that would be from the secondhand stuff. But I knew who I was. I had I was more. If I wanted to wear the blue hair, I wore it. I knew how I wanted to look, whether it was with the weaves, the wigs. I knew, And yeah, I'm not saying that just let yourself, because there's all this promotion of femininity and I'm all for that. I get it now. Certain things I didn't quite get for years, I get it. But let's not get to a point which is because like what I'm seeing on one on with this whole exotically promotion and then on another. Yes, we want to be healthy, for instance, but you don't want the way they talking like by any means necessary get skinny. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to tell you, majority of people I know who are gone and they left early, they were not. I know a lot of skinny people who are gone. Okay, I just lost another. I know a lot of skin who I'm telling you, would not have thought that my auntie would outlive my mother. Because that means nothing. A lot of people I would have thought, even celebrities, I would have definitely expected to have lived longer. They didn't appear out of shape. They didn't definitely like we think with WWF, but we know how they were living. Like right now, yeah, I'm still not the size I want to be. I've been in a standstill for a minute because I still like to eat, especially with these, menopause years. But as you can see in my videos, but I'm definitely doing a lot healthier. Do you understand what I'm saying? No, I didn't reach the goal I was hoping I would by my birthday, but I'm doing a hell of a lot better than I was in 2022. I just know when I got them days where I want to eat the lamb chops and all that, and of course I ain't messing with pork and stuff no more. I just know, okay, well the next day I'm gonna have to fast. So I've been kind of maintaining, and it gets frustrating, but I realize I'm not younger like I was. It's not going to be my metabolism. It's just not the same as it was when I was younger. And I got to accept that. Right, exactly. Stress is I'm telling you, and we're going to have to learn, So I'm trying to tell myself to lighten up. But at the same time, I don't want us degrading. Okay, like we should have been able to listen to Tashina Arnold and understand what, and also Ari Lennox, though. Ari Lennox was not putting down. She was not putting down Martin Lawrence. She disagreed with him on something. She disagreed with the jokes, all the jokes of Pam being ugly. And people felt like, well, the answer said, well, we all know that Pam wasn't ugly. We all know. Remember, she's younger than us. That's a lot of us Gen X's talking and older. And people just don't give a damn. But she was a young person watching. See, my generation of females, we were kind of molded to like laugh it all off, or clap back, or laugh it off, or shut the hell up. Suck it up, laugh it off, and or be able to clap back. If you can't, then be quiet. If they niggas with attitudes, then you be bitches with problems. That's how, my gender. So a lot of times we would listen to songs calling women, females, bitches. Oh, well, he ain't talking about me. That's the thing. Tashina Arnold is of that generation. If he ain't talking about me, I'm not gonna get. And I'm glad that these younger females are saying, okay, we're not gonna laugh at nappy-headed jokes, BDB jokes any longer. If you wanted to, it's not like Ari Lennox was not trying to cancel Martin or take away his freedom of expression. She was just expressing herself and exercising her freedom and saying that she didn't find it funny, and also it was confusing to her because she saw Pam as beautiful. So when people responded, well, we all know that she's beautiful, we all know. That's what was more confusing to her, being young. That's what makes it more confusing. If y'all knew that she was fly and all this, then why was she getting these jokes of being ugly and a beast and an animal and all, and a breath stain, all this stuff? If y'all actually saw her sexy and attractive. And I'm glad that younger people, she was not attacking Martin. She said she adored Martin and she loved the show. It's just, she didn't agree with that. Okay, you can disagree, but she should, but I still don't approve of how she was attacked. She did not attack. There's a difference. I've seen people were kind of attacking her. I'm seeing brothers my age. Bitch, I'm seeing that. I feel yo, got the right to respond, but I don't think that's right, because she did not come at Martin like that. She did not come at Martin or black men like that. She didn't even call for him to get canceled. And they were saying that she's trying to cancel Martin. No, she wasn't. She's expressing an opinion we've been expressing up in here for years. So I'm glad this younger generation wants a more nuanced conversation filled with jargon and complex views. Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. I'd be lying if I said, because sometimes I feel like I can't say nothing to my daughter. I can't, I have to tiptoe around. I do feel like the younger generation is a little too critical. And you see, she was telling me on my picture. But I can't say nothing. It's like we got to kind of see my parents, though, definitely my grandmama, she'd tell you in a heartbeat. And see, I was used to that. But like, if I say stuff, like even like with my grandchild, and my grandchild, she'd be cool with it. But my grandchild be wanting to come to the gym and stuff with me. If I just say a little something, my daughter be like, oh, extra sensitive. And my grandchild don't even be tripping. Because I'm not a mean. If I'm not a mean person, then I ain't gonna say something that's mean. But if I do feel I need to, say a little something, like we eating too many cupcakes around here now, I gotta say something, Yeah, and then that's another thing too. People feel another way of responding. She looked way better than Gina. Well, that's kind of messed up. I also have to think of that on Teach Kemp. She gotta always hear, well, we all know she looked way better than y'all being inconsiderate of both of those females. Why always gotta be this comparison like that? Because I remember when, yes, she, like I said, it was on Suzanne Summer when I first heard this being addressed publicly. on the colorism. 1994, Suzanne Summer talk show. She had both Tashina Arnold and Tisha Campbell on. And so she questioned, I guess, because maybe there've been people writing or saying something about what they saw as what we now call colorism on the show. And so Tisha Campbell, right away, Tashina Arnold, she didn't say nothing. She's just looking at like the other one. Tisha Campbell automatically jumped in and said, well, you see that Pam is the sexier one, the more beautiful. And then I think I recall the audience clapping and stuff. And that was the end of that. So I could tell she had been used to, you know what I'm saying? Responding. If obviously, if there were people saying stuff. And I like that Tisha Campbell, speaking of, okay, because like we know that Lucille Ball, and oh yeah, and the thing is with Lucille Ball, she's seen as a beautiful woman, she's seen as, average to beautiful. She was seen as a beautiful woman. She was, had Desi Arnaz as her husband, an attractive Cuban exotic man. Yeah. She was seen as a beautiful woman. But as you know, Lucille Ball, she was like the queen of, like one of the OGs of physical comedy. Of course, you had Jackie Moms Mabley. Women, even women who would be seen as attractive. Yeah, because women can be funny too. And she was definitely Laverne and Shirley, that show, Penny Marshall, and Cindy Williams, women not afraid to fall in comedy, look silly, make silly faces. And then, like in the case of Bette Midler, women who may not have been seen as conventionally attractive, but like, okay, all right, but I'm still, so they and some people feel that people who are not attractive or not given an easy pass, if they're not rich or attractive, they know that they have to work on other things about themselves, like their personality. Like let's say that overweight girl who would be like, think of the movie Shallow Hal. They'd be a great girlfriend because, being that things have not been handed to them so easily, being that they didn't have what's considered pretty privilege or whatever. So, but they have, allows them to put more into their personality. But don't get me wrong. I know some pretty people who are also funny, people who are seen as, like my niece Tasha, and I'm not just saying but I'm just saying she is one of the funniest people, the top 3 funniest people in my family. Funny as hell. That's just how she was since she was a baby. Just always having us cracking up. My brother, who passed away, he was the funny one, but he was also the cute one that the girls was always chasing. But he was funny as hell. So that's a hell of a combination. Her and him, they got a kind of similar humor. But she was just, as a child, having us cracking up and just doing goofy, silly stuff. Yes, Tasha, the one I was in the interview. Believe it or not, she funny as hell. And I hate when I see her like getting all serious, letting work affect her when she losing her sister. Like, nah, that can't happen. But she was always funny as hell. Just had us cracking up for when she was a little child. Just naturally funny and goofy and crazy. But yeah, you had those who so they may not have had the pretty privilege, but hey, they got the talent. Maybe the fact that things weren't as easily, especially being a female, maybe that allowed them to do more with their personality. Because you do have those people pretty but boring. And then a guy, people move on for another pretty face, or that could easily be replaced. I'm not saying because a person boring, that doesn't mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's a right to cheat or be disrespectful to anybody because you see them as boring. I don't care if they're pretty, but I'm just saying. But yeah, it's good that you have people Yeah, and Leslie, knowing that she's a rather tall girl, this and that, and perhaps like, and this is what I suspected with Corey Holcomb. But see, with him, see that like that's the line also. Corey Holcomb draws that line, or he crosses that line with me too. Corey Holcomb is one of them people. I don't know if y'all saw him when he was on the talk show, but Corey Holcomb had his teeth he's had his teeth fixed. Corey Holcomb also rather tall, eventually becoming overweight. He's one of them people who probably himself very much taunted as a kid. So I'm gonna gun at you. See, you got people who are like that. I'm gonna attack you before you attack me. I'm gonna see. He's one of those cases. I'm gonna call these women monkeys so that people don't call me a monkey or gorilla. That's what I see with Corey Holcomb. Kind of similar to Tommy Sotomayor. So they're gonna talk about it because that's all they've been doing all their life. That's how they've been able to cope. There are those who don't necessarily laugh at themselves, but they sure gonna laugh at you and other people. You got people who are like that too. But if you notice how Corey Holcomb, when people's coming at him, he can't stop. He can't stop responding. Just like Tom. Oh, they call me crispy, but you've been up in here way before that crispy puppet talking about dark-skinned black women, call them darkies, this or that. And you notice how when Tariq Nasheed made fun of his hairline, that's when he starts shaving his head bald, wearing caps. See what I'm saying? See, you got people who are like that. That's how they've been coping. So I'm not going to laugh at myself, but I am going to laugh at everybody else or anybody who is close to me or I think I can put under me, like black women. Since society sees them as one level lower than me, I'm going to call them a monkey gorilla so that they don't call me the monkey gorilla. Now, Leslie Young, perhaps, now, but then there are those who, Cheryl Underwood may be a case of she gonna do both. She gonna clown you and she gonna perhaps allow her clown herself or allow herself to be clowned. And Leslie, but then some of this stuff though, I do have to question: is it scripted? Is it Leslie talking about not being married and men not wanting her? Something about this recently coming up. And there's other women who have. You had the woman from It's a Thin Line Between Love and Hate, the actress. Can't think of the name as usual. Now I say that in her case, I think that role. What was her character name in A Thin Line Between Love and Hate? I think that might have scared some men. That she might have frightened some men because I remember her talking. Her being up in age and kind of can't find a man, and she's considered attractive. I think, and also sometimes it can be features that you can't control. Like she got the eyebrows. Sometimes people are look, and she got like a really narrow nose. What's her name? I don't know what I'm talking about. She got that really narrow nose and them eyebrows. They said it was said that Jada Pinkett was gonna be cast. But yeah, she got that look, and that's sad when it's something that you can't help. Like with me, I got very, kind of soft where I've been able to get certain things by putting on the puppy dog face because of my round face. But yeah, see, she got that look that's kind of, although beautiful, some men may be intimidated. She got that really narrow nose and the eyebrows and Lynn Whitfield. Yeah, I just had to type in A Thin Line Between Love and Hate because I can't remember names now. And that's not her fault. That's kind of, just like with Leslie Jones being tall but with I don't know, something about this with the Leslie Jones recently. It just is coming off to me kind of as if she's playing into a script. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just not coming off like genuine. I think sometimes, because you gotta remember, this is Hollywood. They'll have a comedian or actor, somebody say something almost like they were fed to say this, so that it can get a certain conversation going. And then you wonder why you're not married. Look at how you look at. Look at how these black women look at. Look at how they acted. Look at how they, and then you got the nerve to question why you're not married. Just like I didn't I tell y'all with the pop the balloon, when that first was getting popular in social media, people talking about the pop the balloon, like with the, and I guess the plumber ninja turtle, whatever. I said this. I told people this is something about this pop the balloon. It's kind of scripted, just something to, for one, distract us from what we really should be talking about, and then also to just get black men and black or just this whole gender thing, because they want to keep us at each other's necks over these little things. So every now and then, somebody will come along saying, some celebrity will come along saying something, like when Trick Daddy some years out of the blue, he just wanted to talk about how black women need to get it together, this, and that. Now here he is, he's dealing with an illness himself, not in the best shape himself, but he's talking about black women being out of shape, and if white women learn to make fried chicken, it's over for black women. You always got somebody coming along saying something provoking, whether it's the opposite sex or their own race. You know what I'm saying? To get us stirred up and get a conversation going, and or not even a conversation, but a beef, or just something that, you know. So it just gives the Anton Daniels and the Tommy Sotomayors and the Cynthia G's and all of them, giving them something to play on. Giving like, didn't I tell you? Remember I said it was, what was it? Ricky Smiley's son said a colorist joke. I believe it was the son who died, and he claimed that he was told to say that joke. Please, like, remember Gilbert Arenas? Just where did this come from? Out of the blue, the basketball player talking about Lupita Nyong'o. He said a colorist remark. This is just out of the. Nobody even asked. Yeah, it was just out of the blue, and then it just blows up and goes viral. It blows up and goes. Nothing goes viral coincidentally, y'all. I'm just saying. Some of this stuff I don't see as all that genuine. But yeah, like I said, it's good to even, like in the case. I'm glad though that people are saying that maybe we don't need to be joking about certain things so much. I'm glad that people are speaking up, but at the same time, I still respect Tashina Arnold, even though I do sometimes feel like the way, I can't say I totally agree with how Tashina Arnold responded to Ari Lennox. Almost like you just being too sensitive. Because it's not like she attacked Tashina Arnold or Martin Lawrence. I appreciate Tashina Arnold. It's great that she hasn't, allowed this to bog her down. Like, some people could come at me, what, you just want her to be feeling down as a dark-skinned black woman and just pitying herself and this and that. Why are you mad at her for being? No, I'm not saying, but I don't really kind of like the way she responded with Ari Lennox. I ain't mad at her, I just feel like almost like, no, it was kind of like it's not me, it's not us, it's you, Ari. It's you, Arnie. That's how it kind of came off. When she could express what she was saying, but don't totally like play down what Ari is feeling as just, oh, you need to, even if she didn't say it like that, that's how it kind of. Well, okay, wait. Okay, see, why was she being too sensitive? What did she say? Please, Adam Guidry, what specifically did Ari Lennox say that would make you say that she was being too sensitive? What was it that was said? She said, I adore Martin. She just was confused because she saw Tashina Arnold as a beautiful woman, and she is very young. She was like a year old when was she born? She was a young kid watching it, unlike a lot of us older people. And she was confused because she's seeing a person being called ugly and compared to a dog and an animal that she didn't see as ugly. And it didn't make sense to her. No, she wasn't speaking for Tashina Arnold. She was speaking for herself. Tashina Arnold, however, in a sense, was kind of speaking for, like, almost insinuating, like, and then for her to say you're the only, to imply that Ari Lennox was the only one. No, no, you were questioned by a white woman back in '94, Suzanne Summers, questioned you about the colorism on the show. Tashina Arnold said nothing. Tisha Campbell spoke, though, on her behalf. So you know that this is something that has been brought up before. I don't know why people acting like this is brand new with Ari Lennox. In fact, Ari Lennox was tame in the way that people, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to me. It showed insensitivity. They're saying that she being too sensitive, and she's like a female woman. She's a how dare a woman be sensitive? How dare a woman be sensitive about anything? So yeah, there's a certain, we cannot be complaining about women wearing weaves and wigs and permanent and processing their hair. Fast forward to the 2000s and all of the videos taunting black women, but then say we should be okay with jokes about you having nappy hair. You need some dark and lovely. You need to straighten out the buckshots on your neck. Come on now. But some of these same people who would say, will talk about how Ari Lennox needs to chill out, get a sense of humor. Some of these very same people will criticize black women for straightening their hair. Well, I mean, some things we do kind of need it, like, okay, I used to say to myself with certain songs, well, he ain't talking about me. But when I look back at myself, shame on me. I used to laugh at certain things. Okay, like this is what I was talking about. We the only people too that we I'm not saying you can understand me, but that don't mean you gotta agree with me. Like I used to, me and my friends, we used to rewind scenes. What's love got to do with it? Eat the cake at a maid. We supposed to take that seriously, but we laugh at you show is you told Harpo to beat me. We the only people that do that. I'm not even gonna front as if I have it. But should we be doing that? I mean, I'm just keeping it real. Should we be, even if the what's love got to do with it? Like, for instance, one scene I used to find funny, even though it was a serious scene, it wasn't the scene itself. And that actually didn't happen. Even Tina Turner admitted that she was not RAPED by Ike Turner. But it was, the Nutbush scene. I wasn't laughing at the RAPE, but it was the part where he was like, I want you to sing this mother. Look, I used to find that part funny. Even though it leads to something really serious happening in the movie, but in just going by the movie. But I do feel like we may laugh a little too much sometimes. We the only people be a story on abuse. Can you imagine white people laughing at the burning bed? Or even sleeping with the enemy? I'm just saying, you don't have to yeah, I want y'all to understand, where I'm coming from, but you don't have to agree with me laughing, even if you understand. I look at certain things like, I shouldn't have been laughing. I used to laugh listening to NWA. Nobody moves. Nobody gets the part where he take what turned out to be a transgender. I remember me and my friends was listening to it for the first time. He takes her back there to RAPE and he finds out it's a man, and in the way that Eazy-E, they made it comical. And so I remember my friends and I was a teenager, chuckling, laughing at that. Because they're all like, this is hilarious. We all, when we first heard the NWA, and that's what made it even more so dangerous, unlike, like, let's say Ice-T Colors, is that they made it comical. NWA is, they were funny. It's about this bitch and that, but not with the 7-day itch. Stuff that we would be laughing at. Read these Nikes, Ghetto Boys. I used to think that was funny, hilarious. But then when my own brother, my first experience with I've had 3 siblings to be shot, and they all survived. My sister was shot. My brother was shot. Attempted robbery with my sister. They all survived. That's what's funny. 2 of those siblings are gone now, but they survived being shot. That's what's crazy. Yeah, I remember I used to laugh, but then I remember my brother was shot. Gang bullshit. Some thug coming to him on public transportation, shot him through the neck. He lived though. It wasn't funny to me no more. That's when a lot of that violent stuff. I was still listening to bad stuff, but that's when I remember, and I was like early 90s, and it wasn't funny to me no more. Yeah, a lot of stuff that I laughed off, and so let's say if a young person, just like what we were talking, I do want, that's why I talked about the whole thing with Wanye Morris and Brandy. I do want us to understand the time and the culture and cultural norms of the time. But at the same time, hey, Reef, how you doing? Right. I feel like certain things maybe should have been a little more, and including men being a little more sensitive too. Maybe that's the thing. We don't want to get to a point where we're laughing so much where we're insensitive. Is it better to be sensitive or insensitive? Right, we're not allowed to be women. They have allowed white media to convince them that only white women can cry and show emotion. Right, exactly. That's kind of the point I'm also making. Oh yeah, it was more violent period in the United States than of course there's still things happening, but the way that things are being hyped up, you had more violent periods in Chicago, late 80s, early 90s. Crime period in the United States, well, last time I gave that report, which was not that long ago, like, well, almost 10 years ago when I gave that report, it went down in the United States over 60% within the last 20 years. I gave that report like 2017, but yeah, a lot of this stuff be hype. Yeah, a lot of this stuff be hype. Yeah, you know what? I'm being told about it, but I told my husband I don't want to click into. I just told him I don't know how. I kind of don't want to know the details with this whole thing with Carmelo Anthony because I don't want to talk. I don't want to get mad. So when my husband was first telling me, I was like, I don't know how he wanted to show a video, but I kind of don't want to see, so because I don't want to get upset about that with the Carmelo Anthony. Yeah. Right. And that's the thing. There's a point we got to get, what I'm saying? We got to stop laughing or just playing stuff down. And, some people feel that we getting too serious. Maybe. And we need to chill out. But that's the thing. This is what we got to worry about. And that's what I'm seeing with this comedy, like, for instance, with Kevin Hart. We getting too comfortable. That's when we was getting comfortable like that in the 90s. But see, white folks stuff was brewing with them, especially after the O.J. Simpson verdict. But we had got so comfortable in the 90s. And see, that's the thing. When we get to a point where now we at a point where we comfortable, where we cool with, and it's almost like this comedy thing, like they testing us to see, because they really, I'm seeing them in videos saying the N-word like it ain't nothing. They really want to see, and they want to do this stuff in front of us. They want to get to a point where they in the video, what up, my nigga, and we okay with it. But going back, what I was saying on black women, yeah, I definitely appreciate, like in the case to and we know that she's a beautiful sister, but and even with our beautiful sister Tisha Campbell, I compared her a lot to like Lucille Ball. I feel that she's very underrated when it comes her and Tashina Arnold when it comes to the physical humor. Like, although Pam, attractive sister, she, wasn't afraid to be funny and distort her face, and she wasn't afraid, and I think that's cool. That's, one example of their physical humor. Tashina Arnold and Tisha Campbell was with that ain't no damn puppy. And now Pam kind of ruled there, and Martin when it came to the physical humor. But yeah, she wasn't afraid to make a face, and but sometimes could these sisters be playing on stereotypical faces? But I'm gonna go into that. But yeah, Tisha Campbell, she was my favorite. Like with the that was do you know how many people compared me to Tisha Campbell back in the 90s? But that both got big heads. But she was hilarious. She was hilarious. Because they've been acting since they were young girls, since they were kids. They've been acting, performing, singing since they were kids. So that's just natural. I think both of these actresses are hella underrated as performers, period. Singing, dancing, and definitely dancing with Tisha Campbell, acting, and humor. Tisha Campbell, of course, with the you got these beautiful women not afraid to laugh and be funny. Even today, she's still playing. See, that's me. Even today, and you've had that. But what I'm saying, sometimes, now I think that's them being them. I think that's them, and maybe this was their dynamic, with Martin, it just, we do have to still be responsible if she is the only person not only being joked on for her natural hair texture, which they all got hair in the fours, including Tisha Campbell. But if she's the only one who's getting the nappy headed jokes and all of that, of course that's going to send a message. It's okay for black men and lighter skinned women to have quote unquote nappy hair in the fours, but a black woman, you supposed to straighten your hair. You ain't supposed to have your hair sitting on your neck like that. That it kind of sends that message. And we do have to consider younger viewers or just older viewers, period. It kind of sends the message that, well, we can have hair this texture, but you can't. You supposed to straighten your hair. You ain't supposed to let your hair get beady. But yeah, I mean, that may have been how they, because initially, before things started going bad, with whatever was going on with Martin, after, Tisha Campbell got married to Dwayne Martin, I remember they had a special showing them working on the show, and it seemed like they were having a ball. Like they were just having fun. Like they love their job before things start going bad. But in some of these cases, I feel like it may be an act, or you got black people who are playing on. I don't even think Martin Lawrence was playing on what he believed white folks wanted to see. I think this is just him being him. This is how we, sad to say, many of us used to clowning each other. But and I think Martin was definitely thinking first his black audience. Because this is how, sad to say, we've been, I mean, it's not sad in all cases, but telling nappy-headed jokes and you so black and your mama jokes, this is a part of our culture. That became a part of our culture. It's sad to say. But yeah, but in some of these cases, I do think this is stuff to appeal to white folks. It's not just about you being yourself, your funny stuff. One example, and y'all may disagree with me. Another example, and I'm talking more specifically about the women here. We could talk about the men in another, but as a black woman, I want to address this with a woman, especially since this whole thing with Leslie Jones and now with Cheryl, like, is it a thing of, and then me seeing this comedic skit that I showed y'all? In the case of this one here, now she is one of the first, yeah, she was in YouTube world before I was here, I think. But I did not really like this woman. I mean, I had nothing against her personally, but I wasn't really fond of her comedy, if you call it that. These are the early days of social media skits, and which is now taking over. Now people ain't watching SNL or Mad TV. That ain't on no more. They come to YouTube. The early days. Now we got Skinbone and Drewski and all these other people. But she was one of the first people I remember in she was one of the first people in YouTube world that I saw to blow up. And she didn't represent the black sector of YouTube because we didn't even really have a black sector, just had black individuals like myself, you know, making content, but we didn't really have that black YouTube. But she was mainstream, Glozell Green, if you recall. Notice how, and she's a very beautiful sister in my opinion. So I guess, is there a book she got? Is this a book, Glozell Green? I don't know what this is. I just found the image. Is this a book or video? Glozell Green, is you okay? Not are you okay? Is you okay? But I wasn't very fond of. I didn't hate her. You never, I didn't diss her or nothing. But you don't remember Glozell Green? Yeah, this is the earlier days. Hold on, I'm sure she got her own Wikipedia page. Because she up there with the Mr. Meaties and stuff, I think. Yeah, she was one of the early people in black women to blow up in YouTube. But she's not known as a black content creator. Yeah, Glozell Green. I'm assuming that's something, but she's known for wearing the green lips. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Glozell. So now she's just Glozell. Okay, she's around my age, just a little older than me. Yeah, so she's better known anonymously as Glozell. Well, I knew her as Glozell Green, so now she done went from Jackie Harry to Jackie. She's just Glozell. Remember when Usher Raymond was Usher Raymond? Remember when Brandy Norwood was Brandy Norwood? Now she's Brandy Usher. So that means, But it says, yeah, Wikipedia, she's an American YouTube personality. She established her YouTube channel in 2008. Okay, so she came into YouTube the same time I did. I thought she might have been there before. Well, she probably was, because I was my first YouTube channel was December 2008. So I just know she was already here with video interviews, comedy about her life, and song parodies. By 2015, the channel had accumulated more than 4 million subscribers and more than 700 million total views. Her most popular videos include her Cinnamon Challenge video. Yeah, she was doing a lot of that stuff early. Like I saw her, she had a skit, and I'm like, oh gosh, where she was like in a tub of milk with cereal, Fruit Loops or something, eating fruit. It was just something crazy. But that stuff become popular now. But back, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this sister doing? I ain't hate her. Yeah, Cinnamon Challenge. Oh yeah, that's the early days when they were doing them little, can you eat a spoon of cinnamon? And so of course she would do stuff like that, which would lead to her making these faces. And she is definitely unambiguous black woman. And she has, like myself, big, broad features, cheeks and the nose and the lips. And so she would, and in her having her lips with this green lipstick or whatever, she would always, let me see. Let me just read a little more. It says, her most popular videos include her Cinnamon Challenge video, which accumulated more than 60 million views, and my push-up bra will help me get my man, with more than 25 million views. She gained wide notice when her blog about meeting Elijah Wood was mentioned by the actor during a 2011 interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live. In 2012, she appeared on the web series Dr. Fabulous. Not Dr. Dr. Fabulous. Never heard of that. In 2015, it says Glozell interviewed President Barack Obama in a YouTube. Wow. Yeah. She was one of the first to blow up big. Yes, 60 million. She interviewed President Barack Obama in a YouTube live stream hosted at the White House. In 2018, Green had a small role as Little Debbie in Ralph Breaks the Internet. In December 2020, it was announced that Green would be hosting the Glozell Show with Million Stories Media. Okay. Where's she from? Oh, she's from Orlando, Florida. Yeah, so she moved to Hollywood in 2003. Okay, so yeah, she was one of the first people I know, really big people in YouTube, and that happened to be black. However, her audience, she was not for necessarily a black crowd specifically. She had a mainstream audience, but she was known Beautiful woman, as you can see, but she's known for making these, and see, we get taunted for our facial features, our lips, our nose, our cheekbones, our prognathism, and this and that. So she, I got a wide mouth, so I'm gonna make it look wider. So she would be distorted, and her having on the green lipstick. But you know what? When I think about it, so she was always, but this is the thing, very beautiful. But she was always making these faces in her videos. She was always let me see. It's been years since I've even peeked her channel. Yeah, because y'all see now I'm talking about, what got me up in here, came in here late, me talking about this woman's video, some woman of the UK, some comedian. Hold on a sec. Let me try to find. So obviously she's went beyond YouTube. Yeah. So I guess maybe she feel now she can calm down and she can just talk, although she'll still wear the green lipstick. But wow. So this, I do recall seeing this though. The cinnamon challenge. I guess they were doing these are the early days. I'm doing this stuff. Okay, now this is 2012. The whole thing of cinnamon. And there's some men, like some of these white men, they may get off on this kind of stuff. I don't know. But stuff like this. And they love seeing when black. One thing I noticed, like, I used to notice that too, like with Flavor Love. They love seeing when in the shows, and of course, even in cinema and stuff before that, in TV shows, they love when black folks acting scared. Like I remember on Flavor Love, New York would be overreacted. It was funny though. She would make it real funny. Like if she had to ride a horse, or and I remember when Boots was just cracking up, laughing at her. Yeah. They love like they remember when they gave Real and Chance, rest in peace to Real, when they gave them their own show, Real and Chance. But they had gave them a show after their little competition show, their little dating show. They were from the I Love New York. And they gave them a show and they want to see how black people act like we're so scared of a cricket or something. A bat. Like even in Under the Cherry Moon with Prince and Jerome, where there happened to be a bat, and they love seeing when we be acting all scared and or like we're not used to, even though we're said to be from the continent of Africa, but we're scared of animals. Like we just also it's a thing of just having comments. Some things like Paul Mooney said, you ain't meant to be messing with. You ain't meant to. What Paul Mooney say? Only white folks trying to ride on an elephant. You just don't mess with. Like I said, black folks don't give a doggone about a monkey. Even if we lived, even if the continent of Africa is full of monkeys, you don't see us trying to play with monkeys. Now, I'm not saying we don't have a love for animals or respect for them or knowledge of them. But we ain't trying to stick our hand put our head in a lion's mouth. Stuff like that. Yeah. So they always with the extreme sports. They're always trying to prove that they're not scared and they can jump bungee jumping. See, we know life itself is scary. Life itself is a bungee jump. Just being black, as Paul Mooney would say. Shit, you black, you're already in trouble. It's already scary just being black in this country. Shit. Yeah, right. And it don't mean that we ain't knowledgeable. It don't mean that we don't have a respect for animals, even if, now, but we understand it's just hunting. We don't just hunt for sport, I don't believe, for the most part, Yeah, It'll be just for food, or but we ain't trying to be in a cage with them and playing with them like that. And they're animals. I love my cat, but that's as far as it gonna go with me. And I'm not fond of dogs, so. But as far as the said to be domesticated animals, I don't think that pit bulls should be pets. That's me personally. Yes, dogs can be pets, but I don't think every dog, even those who y'all think the dogs y'all see as domesticated, I don't think that every dog should be a pet. That's just me, my personal opinion. Yeah, like, but they like that. They love when we're doing these. Oh, Jesus, help me! And so, of course, some people think it, believe it's no talent when you're doing these. Well, notice this. Even when we're talking about music and stuff, I get so tired of these reaction videos where we got the faces, the buck-eyed face. They love that, especially when it's a black person face with the react. Just like how they use us for gifs whenever they want to express what they feeling. All the got him, I love, it can be like a good thing, That's what's funny. They'll mock us, but then they use us and as memes and gifs. They'll talk about the black woman rolling her eyes and rolling her neck, but then when they want to express themselves, they're going to these memes and gifs of black women rolling their eyes and necks to express themselves. Don't get mad at us for expressing what you feel you can't express openly. But at the same time, is there a point where we're cooning? Where's the line? And that's the thing. I never felt right saying that Glozell Green was, I didn't, because I don't hate her. It's worse things she could be doing, because especially when I saw what was brewing with this gender war and all this black folks putting down each other in social media, because she could be doing that. But then there's some people feel like, you're a beautiful sister. Why are you, And then it's also say, why not? If this is what she want to do, if not everybody's trying to look all pretty and but I do feel that some women have been doing that, like they found that this is a way of making money, and they know that this is what the white mainstream want to see, and they know, like, even, and they feel that, well, in the case of white women, they can afford to have a Lucille Ball and be goofy and silly. But you do notice that with Lucille Ball, she actually made more money, became more successful, being one of the first women of television. She did far better in television being funny than just being beautiful. So some can say, hey, if it works. And even in the case of Josephine Baker, very beautiful woman. Josephine Baker, very, very beautiful woman. And for the knowing, Josephine Baker, she was not, because I see some people trying to claim her as mulatto or biracial. Same with Dorothy Dandridge. Okay, look, Josephine Baker, even though it's another case of where she's not sure who the father is, sometimes you do have these black folks, they want you, yes, in history, want you to believe that they might be biracial or they may be, and they knew that they was BSing, okay? Josephine Baker, yes, black woman. Even if they may have admixture, that may not be that far removed. Okay. And they may have been, like in the case of Dorothy Dandridge, they may have at one time period in history, they could have been referred to as mulatto just based on their complexion alone. Okay. Like somebody showed me that once upon a time, and I'm like, okay, it was a family, even though I know that this guy, that Black Skin is amazing. I know that he was on some, he's part of the agenda. But he was trying to show me that somebody like myself, they would have still categorized me just based on complexion. And he showed some like census form from like the late, like I think from like the 19th century or the 1800s, where it was a family where they had the same mom and dad, but one of the children was being shown as being Negro, like the other one was as mulatto, obviously because of their complexion. was different from the, you know. So yeah, maybe they would have still categorized people because of their complexion or something alone as. But I'm gonna tell you, yeah, no, I don't believe that Josephine Baker's father was the white man. I believe it was that black musician. I don't feel like going. Maybe I'll do a video. Okay. And I'm sure Josephine Baker ain't had no more admixture than like over 80% of black Americans. Okay. All right. No more all right. There's a big difference between somebody having a whole non-black parent or even two parents that are totally racially, mixed. But yeah, I don't even believe that Frederick Douglass was biracial. And I've done videos on that, and maybe I'll do another one. But no, Dorothy Dandridge's mom, like, okay, even though I'm glad that Halle Berry, I think she did a really good job playing Dorothy Dandridge. But actually, it was Janet Jackson and Whitney Houston. They were also trying to go for that part. There were other actresses trying to, get that part of Dorothy Dandridge for the HBO special or whatever. But Halle Berry got it. And I'm glad she died. I think she did a very good job. And proved herself also as an actress. But actually, if we were to really go by DNA, Janet Jackson and or Whitney Houston would have been closer to DNA to Dorothy Dandridge than Halle Berry. Okay. And yet they are not considered mulattoes. So yeah, and also in the case of Josephine Baker, she wasn't even like, she was actually a sepia skin color woman. She was actually a brown skin, what we'd call a brown skin, more sepia toned woman. She used to do things like you see here. That's not really what I want to talk about. She was actually and I know black and white photos can be somewhat deceptive, have you looking darker than or lighter than you actually are. But she was actually a more sepia skin toned woman. She would do, as you can see with her makeup here, she would make herself look a little lighter, a little brighter, and she also did certain techniques with lemon juice, etc., etc. And they did have them products back then that could bleach your skin. But yeah, you can see with the makeup difference, you see her body compared to her face. But even, yeah, this is another example. You see her body, see her face, the make. It ain't like we had makeup it ain't like we had foundation really being made for us like that anyway, but so I can understand. But yeah, even in the case of the beautiful Josephine Baker, she in her earlier years, especially in the United States as a performer, she had to do the blackface and stuff. So what she would do, and that was one of the reasons she became more famous and accepted, because she would be, doing even as an quote unquote exotic dancer, even as a sexy dancer, even though she was a very sexy woman, but she would do, and then I'm sure she was just kind of silly like that, fun-loving person. You can see it the way she was always smiling and dancing, but sometimes it was kind of a thing of a coping and survival and making people laugh and not feel as threatened by her beauty. She had talked about how there would be women like like with their little monocle or whatever, trying to look closely. And what she said, like, I'm getting older. Yes, I have wrinkles. Like they wanted to see the wrinkles forming under her eyes. And, and she probably felt, yeah, and it made it easier for her as a dancer. Yeah, she was probably also being herself, but it made it easier for her, especially dealing with the racism, especially with the United States, to be less threatening by being silly and goofy as possible. It also helped her to become more famous. Unlike if she was, let's say, if she was just being a dancer or just being pretty or just being talented. No, it also helped being silly and goofy in her routines so that she could be seen as less threatening. Like you see her here looking very beautiful amongst a bunch of white women. But as you can see in this little gif here, she's distorting her face almost like as in a way, even though she still looks cute. She's still looking cute as hell. But almost like, okay, amongst these white women, I gotta I gotta be a little goofy. I gotta, so they don't feel as threatened by my beauty, by my natural beauty. So I'm gonna, and I do feel that you have some cases of black women doing that, black people feeling they got, and men, or if I already got big lips that you're gonna talk about, I'm gonna, I just thought of something though too. Even like in the case of Glozell Green, beautiful woman, beautiful woman. But see, that's the thing with white women, especially in the climate of 2008 YouTube, when it was the time to be dissing black women. Would they have been as comfortable, let's say, if she was just, and when I think about it, yeah, this chick here, you remember her? I actually liked her movie, but I found out that she's kind of a jerk, and she's been canceled in more recent years, somewhat canceled by the culture because she's been having some inappropriate exchanges, apparently, with an underage man. So, but she got a whole Netflix. Now, when I think about it, she's at Miranda Says. She's known for the excessive red lipstick. Now, when I think about it, she also be doing her face and making funny. When I think about it, do y'all think that she might have been a little bit inspired by? I'm not gonna say copying or biting Glozell Green with the green lipstick and making a face, overly emphasizing the lips and stuff. So then you had, this female come along years later. Miranda Says. She ends up getting and it was funny, I watched on Netflix. My husband and I watched. It's a funny take. And in a way, her comedy is making fun of social media personalities, YouTube personalities. It's kind of like a parody of Miranda's YouTube personalities kind of see themselves bigger than what they are. Now, when I think about it, she was probably inspired by this woman. She probably was inspired by Glozell Green. Now that I think about it. But yeah, we've had this. I would like to say, I'd like to believe that it's just us being ourselves or being our funny selves or not being afraid of being funny. Like one example, of course, she's, Aunt Esther. I love Aunt Esther. And that's the comedy that they did. Her and Red Fox, actually really good friends. They go back to them like Chitlin Circuit like days. I'm not saying that they were part of the literal Chitlin Circuit, but they go back. And they were friends to the end. They were really good friends. But of course, this is one of the earlier shows giving you that sapphire stereotype of the black woman who's all beefing with the black man and they're gunning on each other. And of course, it's obvious that Martin Lawrence was inspired. He said he wanted to take it back to the comedic days of, the days of like the Sanford and Son. Because, it is true, though. There was a point, like after the Cosby Show and stuff, or really from that time of Different Strokes, late 70s onto the into the 80s, and where you just didn't really see physical comedy like that. Bill Cosby could get a little physical, but wasn't really seeing. Last time I saw really physical comedy of that era, like we saw like in the 70s and stuff. The last time I saw that was like with Three's Company with Jack Tripper and Chrissy and Janet. That was the last time I kind of saw that goofy physical humor. But then, sitcoms, it became more, the humor became more about the situation. Even though Bill Cosby could still get physical, you know what I'm saying, somewhat, but you didn't see it as much. But Martin Lawrence, even though he did have his share of criticism, some people thinking his show just wasn't funny. Who was it? Who was a critic? Was it Bill? Who is it that? Remember I read with y'all with Rock, Charles S. Dutton. He wasn't really with that type. There were some people who wasn't really feeling that type of humor. But Martin was kind of bringing it back to that physical humor, the physical, also that comedy of them gunning on each other that you would see like Thelma and JJ. Some people may think that's more of a racial thing. Still, you did see it like in Married with Children with Al and his wife, and Al and Marcy Darcy, the back and forth black of men, women like roasting each other, whether the woman roasts him for being short and balding and he roasts her being ugly, this and that. Sad to say, you kind of seen it more so in black comedy sitcoms, mainly in this, like in the 70s and stuff. The funny black woman, and she called him a heathen and a fish-eyed fool, and he called her ugly, and it goes on and on. Yeah, it's believed to have been taken back. Even though I didn't really see that from what I did peek of the Amos and Andy show, the TV show that is, with the Sapphire character, the wife. I didn't really see it like that, but I've only saw a few of those episodes, which I was able to catch online on YouTube. But yeah, even in the case, and LaWanda Page, she was also a rather tall woman, who, and so, being tall, that perhaps lead to a longer face or whatever. But she was one who, wasn't afraid to do her eyes in a certain way, or if it was to make a mouth look a certain way, make herself look older than what she was. You raise her eyebrow, make her eyes look beady-eyed, get an evil eye, make herself look funny. And I can appreciate that. But believe it or not, people are finding out through social media that once upon a time, before the TV show sitcom, she was like this exotic dancer or something. Well, she's always been also a comedian. But she was kind of like a showgirl or something. Believe it or not, she's got legs. She's giving legs for days. So, she's a tall woman. Yeah, so like I said, in the case of you've had some of these women even putting on weight to be successful. And now in the case of Lawanda, I'm not saying that she was just playing into what white people want to see. I think that this is what just her and Fred and Red Fox wanted to do. And it's part of their little comedics. But we do know that even in how we amuse ourselves, some of this is influenced by racial stereotypes. We can't deny that, though. But, she was funny as hell, self-righteous, always preachy, all that stuff. I could definitely appreciate the comedy. But some would say, is this, is some of this comedy, is it a way of coping? Obviously, to a degree. You can't tell me. Who was that? She was that girl that was on the Flavor Love, Sapphire. No, Safari. I remember when she was also on she was the funniest person on Charm School with Monique Sapphire. She ended up winning. And I remember her in an interview, she was like saying that the greatest humor comes from tragedy. And she was really serious in saying it. She was funny as hell. She was really funny. And, it kind of got deep and quiet at a moment when she was saying that, And this has been a way of us coping. And, but then where's the line? I'm just looking at, I'm looking at your intentions. Who are you trying to make laugh, or who are you trying to, you know what I'm saying? I do feel like, okay, no, I shouldn't be ashamed of our natural features, having me being myself, a person with, broad, wide features, right? Also having, the facial prognathism. This is nothing to be ashamed of, right? Yeah, but I do remember I didn't like I felt JJ was really cool. JJ on Good Times, Jimmy Walker. And he is another one. I'm sorry, but I feel that JJ has kind of crossed that line. I do feel that Jimmy Walker kind of crossed that raccoon line. He just like Cheryl Underwood, they out there for whatever reason they feel they gotta stress that they're Republican, and they're not like the rest of us, the typical Negro. They can think for themselves, supposedly, right? Give me a second, child. Okay, just getting that alert. Wasn't on his way back. But yeah, now, of course, these are his natural. I felt that JJ was cool. He was cool. He was funny. He was an artist. But I do understand why some people, and you would even see with some of these posters, I think that there were certain people who liked him, but for the wrong reasons. Yes, he was funny without having to, because actually it was annoying when he would always, a dynamite. Now it was cool and funny when he answered the phone, hello, that was cool. But with the way he would always bust into that, and you knew it was coming, a dynamite. And he was funny, and he was one of the people because he was skinny as hell. It's like he had no muscle. I never seen a brother with so little muscle density. He was skinny. JJ, I'm sure he was told a lot that he was tall, lanky, and skinny. And did you know that he was like the same? Come to find out, Jimmy Walker, they said, how old is he? How old is JJ? Jimmy Walker, I can't believe. Jimmy Walker is older than my mama. I cannot believe. My mama was born 1948. I don't think my mama knew that. He was born, it says here, 1947. I find that hard to believe. Do y'all know next year he is going to be, in 2 years, he going to be 80 years old. I find it very hard to believe. He is 78 years, that he was actually 1 year older than my mama. My mama born 1948. It says here he was born 1947. He wasn't that far apart in age from John Amos. And still skinny as hell. And I'm sure people reminded him how skinny and lanky he was. So, yeah, I can imagine him being a person for years. I know I'm supposed to be talking about women here, but I can imagine him, just had to develop that sense of humor and just playing on. But yeah, I noticed how he would just make his mouth look extra wide big and just doing the faces. So there are those who liked the show probably solely for JJ antics. Yeah. And I noticed that there are some people, they got videos up. There are some people, Estevo, she was just jealous of his success. These are usually non-black people. But really, you gotta understand, she was supposed to be like the primary character because it was a spinoff of Maude. She was a character, Esther Rose was a character like on Maude. But she was with John Amos. But they wanted her to be a single mom. She said, no, I want a father. Like, he will be with me on this show. She's like, I grew up with two parents. I want, you know what I'm saying? And so Good Times became the first sitcom where you had a black mother, black father, and black children. Before that, they didn't have. It'd be like just a black mother, like Julia, Beulah, or it'd be a black father, whether he was a widower or divorced or whatever, like Sanford and Son. But now you got black mother, father, and children. Exactly. So, Trudy, she want to talk about tethers. I respect Esther Roll. I always respect and defend that woman. I used to see her as my own mama in the television. I really did when I was a child. And when she passed away, and that was before my mama passed, I felt like my mama passed. I've always felt very connected with Esther Roll. Yeah. And Jimmy Walker, if you've heard him, if you've ever heard, because you know he's one of them people like giving his little Fox commentary. I'm sorry. Yes, Jimmy Walker. I'm not one of these people say, "Oh, he was never fun." That's a lie. I love JJ on Good Times. I love JJ, and he was funny as hell. But he was funny without all of that. John Amos was funny in his right too. But he was Jimmy Walker was funny without all of the extra antics. But even with the physical comedy, you know, sometimes he come out there with them long johns, be skinny as hell. Yeah, I can appreciate that too. But he didn't have to do all the you know. But it was a point where it was getting all excessive with that. A dynamite. I remember me and my friends like, oh boy, when we be watching the reruns of the '80s and stuff. Like, oh boy, here it comes. Because you know he set up the rhyme first, and you know it was coming. They really did it with them later episodes. A dynamite. Oh goodness, we're like going to that. They talked about how they was just bumping heads with the cast and the original black writers of the show, telling Norman Lear and the execs like black people wouldn't talk like this. They don't say things like this. They don't say, but you know they want just like with the what you talk about with it, you know, like all that overly. But it was still funny though. I love Gary Coleman. That boy was funny. But yeah. Oh yeah, he sure was. He sure was. Hold on, we gotta. Yes, he sure was. Fox affiliate all the way. Hold on. He sure was. They were dating actually. And Colton, yeah. Okay, how do you spell it? They sure was dating. Yeah, he's always, all you got to do is find the interviews. But hey, maybe he felt white folks appreciated him more. Maybe he was by his own cast members made, so he put it in his head. Well, you see, Negroes don't appreciate me, so these white people love me. But why is it that when the show ended, you would have thought that he was going to take off and be this big sitcom star, right? How come as we went into the '80s, they didn't give him? I'm trying to remember. Did they give him any sort of sitcom? Did they? Because at least with Marla Gibbs, with her Sapphire character, at least they tried to give her a sitcom of her own. I'm talking before 227. It wasn't really successful, but because usually they like them stereo, you know, whether you're Sapphire. Did he even get his own sitcom? Since and so he would see, this is what I'm saying. He would be extra with the smiling, extra with the distorted face. I think he wanted people to think, considering perhaps his own experience with his cast members of Good Times. I don't think it was all so negative though. But he probably think, but see these white folks, they appreciate me more. They wanted to see me more. Right, that's the thing. Is it about you? Is it really about an appreciation for your talent, or it's like with the Fat Boys, like they try to make them into a Three Stooges of hip hop, and they were very very talented rappers, MCs, but they probably saw was, oh, you can eat, oh, they're fat and they're funny, you know, but they were some dope rappers. Like with Chris Cross, all they see is the backwards pads and the the pickaninny hair in the back. Oh, those boys was highly talented. You know, like they just be seeing the gimmick and right. That's all. Also, like where does, and then in talking about So I do believe you do still also have some of these black women who I would like to say it's just about them being funny. And I can imagine someone like Leslie Jones being funny all her life. But I do think with some of these cases that they are, I could tell. Cheryl Jones, I ain't even gonna front. I would be lying if I said this wasn't funny. I'd be lying. She is funny. I've known her, of her and her comedy going back to them early days of Def Comedy Jam and stuff. Comedy View. She is funny. You'd be lying if you said she wasn't funny. But I do think, and I can tell you can tell she's been that way all her life. Whether that was her way of, dealing with her reality or whatever, just come from a funny background, whatever, you could tell she just been naturally funny. She is up there with Samoa and definitely and Adele Givens. So I'm not even gonna front, and it's natural for her. But I also feel that it's raccooning on her part a little bit, Sometimes I do think it's a thing of, and then sometimes maybe they just play. There are some, don't get me wrong, I know some people, there are some goofy people. They're just crazy, they're harmless though. There are some people, they can be really pretty. I do know some people who are just, now my niece Tasha knows she ain't all like this, no, but she is just naturally funny. But there are some people who are just crazy, male and female. There are some females. There are some females, and they can be some very pretty females. I know personally. That is who they are. That is really who they. That's who they are. You may think it's an act. There are some people that and I don't know what Glozell agree, but I'm not gonna lie. When I came into YouTube, she was already here. I felt it was a part of an act. I felt she was giving white people what they want to see, But I never felt right dissing her because she ain't hurting nobody, But I do feel it was like, okay, I'm doing this, and if she's okay, we're doing this. Some people, like now Whoopi Goldberg, that is how did I even put up images? Well, I can't fit any more images on here. Whoopi Goldberg, she was interesting when she kind of came up, started blowing up in the mid 80s after The Color Purple. She was very interesting because my mama, she didn't say nothing. But I ain't gonna lie, I did like the movie Jumpin' Jack Flash. I have been trying to find that. Like, where is that streaming? Wait. But she was most interesting. For when nobody was wearing their hair like that. Oh, sisters, American sisters in the 80s. They were afraid to wear it. Hell no, not by the 80s. You wearing your hair like that, you would have definitely put yourself at risk of being clowned for being nappy-headed. We were too scared. And I love that jump. My mama, she just ain't say nothing. Because usually I go by what my mama got to say. When she rolled in her eyes. Like my mama she ain't had nothing against this, but she didn't like how Mr. T would be talking with the exaggerated blackness. Almost like she felt he was kind of like a parody of Muhammad Ali or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that was another thing with him. But it's a lot that Mr. T, people don't know about Mr. T. He was a very, quote unquote, proud black man. That's why he wanted people to call him Mr. T. When you look into why he, and even why he wore the Mandinka-like haircut, the mohawk, there was something more to it that we didn't realize. But white people did, even though he was a tough guy, they did kind of see him in a sense as safe. Tough, but safe. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about him as they may have worried about, let's say, a Muhammad Ali in his more vocal days. And, of being, more influenced by the nation and stuff. But Whoopi Goldberg, she was interesting because I had not seen a black funny woman like her before. Now, some could say, now my mom, she definitely had an appreciation for comedy. My mom schooled me on Jackie Mom's Mabley, who I guess she listened to when she was younger or something. But my mom would, she was very much into, and taught me about her when I was a child. Jackie Mom's Mabley wanted me to appreciate such female comedians. And I guess you could say that Whoopi Goldberg was in a league, but it was interesting because, Whoopi Goldberg did not in any manner talk in some stereotypical Black urban or Black Southern stereotypical manner. Now, this is, I guess this scene here is where you best see her physical comedy. She was very interesting. It's hard because I really do think Whoopi Goldberg was being herself. Some say that she was just, this is for white folks. Some may think that, but I think Whoopi Goldberg was kind of being herself. But I did used to wonder. I remember when I watched this when I was a preteen or tween when this came out, and I used to love them. But I used to be like, "What is she wearing?" It was the 80s, and I was like, "Why is she?" So I used to wonder, was she purposely though trying to make herself look unattractive? I do think to a degree, although I do feel she was kind of being herself as a comedian. I do think though that to a degree she was playing it safe with her look. Even though I was like, how could this be playing it safe? This is totally rebellious, the way she chose to look, sometimes even androgynous. So this is, how could this be possibly playing it safe? Safe in a sense of where she's non-threatening, I don't know. And of course, white women were totally comfortable seeing her. But I did used to think like I was like, where's her eyebrows? And she said she shaved them off purposely. So I used to wonder, is she purposely making herself look unattractive, dressing all bummy? But I do feel that Whoopi, yeah, so she wasn't, yeah, she would make the faces and stuff, but I don't feel that that was necessarily, oh, I want to make white people laugh. I don't think that, although I don't know. I felt though that the way she chose to look and dress, or like on the red carpet, just wearing stuff that just looked ridiculous to me back then. And and now even I do feel, in a way, I do feel it might have been a little bit of a rebellion thing. Like I'm going to rebel against. And some people think that in being a rebel, you're being yourself. I don't think so. Some people just, I think now, if you're rebelling on behalf of being yourself, and this is how you really want to look, like you really want to wear blue hair and this and that, because there's some people, they just rebel for the sake of saying they're a rebel. It's not really about, oh, this is what you really want to do. This is what you really want to express. I'm going to rebel because I want to be seen as a rebel. I don't think, I think that you're still worrying about what people think, and you're not really this rebel like you claim. Yeah, yeah, she has okay. She was hilarious. Okay, what was the scene in Jumpin' Jack Flash when she was Diana Ross? But I loved it. I've been looking for this. Oh yeah, right here. Because she was doing her face like, how Diana Ross be doing her face. Oh, I remember my mama did say something. You remember the scene where her dress gets ripped and then she's like in the window. She's trying to get up the window. She was about to fall off a ledge, and she put her leg up. Now I remember my mama, when we was watching the movie back in the 80s. My mama did say, "Oh, okay, she doing. This is what these white men, want to see." When she had her like leg, I remember my mama saying something because she said she was picking up on that they had the white men at the same time they were watching Benny Hill, the comedy shows. I used to love that when I was little. But Benny Hill, they had a lot of mature humor, like, sexual stuff with women. and they just happen to be at the British Embassy watching Benny Hill as she's, on the ledge, and her leg, you see her little leg. And so I think my mama saw that as, yeah, my mama said something like to the effect of, yeah, like, yeah, I see what they doing. like they wanted to get a little peek of Whoopi Goldberg's leg. Yeah, I remember my mama saying something like that. Because I try to remember those things. My mother, she was always picking up on things before anybody, especially if it was something racial. This is funny. The way she doing her face, Diana, I need love. Diana Ross' face would be looking. This dude from Spinal Tap and Laverne and Shirley. And he ain't British. Although I noticed he been playing British people, Tracy Ullman, before the Tracy Ullman show. Her head looking all big. Wig on. But oh yeah, Whoopi Goldberg. I got this is reminding me. I'm going to have to re-upload, the Whoopi Goldberg. But yeah, let me go give closure to this. It's that time of the day. But yeah, like some people, like I said, this came from me. I started this stream because of me seeing this skit. And I'm not gonna lie, I guess it's a comedian in the UK. And there are some people saying she look like a gremlin in the comment section, and it's a comedic skit. And somebody had posted saying they see this as kind of minstrel. And yeah, you see, okay, she's going on a date. She put on these blue contacts and a blonde wig, blah, 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 and all this excessive makeup, this bright makeup and the lashes and all. Nothing wrong with the lashes now. And so the guy, he's turned off by her look like that. And so I thumbs up someone who said they saw this as kind of minstrel. And then I was reading the comments and I felt bad. Because I couldn't help but kind of pick up, but I don't know what this show is. It's just popped up. And maybe am I being a little too sensitive? Yeah, and it shows her. And she definitely has what the mainstream would consider an exotic face for sure. What's this woman's name? What's her name? Let me look her up. Yeah, I clicked into it only because she looked familiar, like somebody I've seen before. But then when I clicked in and she got a British accent, I was like, okay, maybe not. But I watched this and me reading the comments and oh my god, she looks like, and everybody's laughing. She looks like Gremlin. Somebody said she's exquisite just naturally. Baby girl don't need to look like no Beyonce. They're saying, okay, so when the person said they see this as kind of minstrel, and another person corrected them saying that how could it be minstrel when she's a black woman? And okay, is this her name, Michaela Cole? Let me look her up. And this is her skit. This is her idea. How is she? You can be a black person who concocts some minstrel coonery, okay? But I know I've seen this woman before. And now when I think about it, I might have even used her image or something. Because I know I've seen her before. That's why I clicked in. Oh, she looks stunning right here. Yeah, she definitely. She also epitomizes what they would see as exotic. Do you understand what exotic means? Intriguingly unusual. Definitely by mainstream standards, she definitely looks exotic. Now, what is so unusual? Well, she has these cheekbones. She has just like similar to Alondria. She has the cheekbones with the facial prognathism, but little to no facial fat. She has a small head like Alondria, little to no facial fat, but she has these protruding cheekbones and this facial prognathism. And the fact that her nose and her eyes are distant, she's kind of a little more exotic looking even than Olandria. Meaning that she has these distant, these wide set eyes. She looks stunning. Oh my God, it's the most perfect set of teeth I think I've ever seen. Yeah, she's very pretty here. But see, that it could be, especially if it's not something you're used to seeing representing beauty. For some would see her as ugly. I will say this. I usually don't like this look with the really, really short hair. I'm just being honest. That's just me. But she's rocking it. And she looks great with this no makeup. Oh my gosh, I just saw one of my nieces recently. And she slimmed up. Oh gosh, I gotta get out of here. I said I was gonna call him back. Oh my gosh, give me a second. I totally forgot. I was supposed to shut this down and call him back. Okay. But yeah, she looks, since I started off talking about this woman here, and maybe I do need to lighten up. Maybe that's just her comedy. Maybe I should check out her comedy and lighten up a little bit. And I'm not, it's not a thing. Please don't think it's a thing if I want my darker skinned sisters or any of my sisters to be down and always feel. No, absolutely not. You know, like look, you see me in non shorts or whatever, you are going to see my features. You are going to see my nose. You're going to see my lips. Okay, I do. You know, I'm not finna be doing this straight up exaggerating stuff for you ain't finna see me. No, that maybe for y'all, but I ain't finna be. Yeah, yeah, I'm not finna. Yeah, I play around on that too. But you know, maybe I need to lighten up. And it's not about me wanting the sister to be down and not laugh at herself and oh, you shouldn't. And who am I to police how people, especially if it's something I can't relate to, like in the case of colorism, but I can't relate to featurism and racism. Period. Featurism, texturism, racism. Period. And as a black woman, but you know, who some could say, who am I to? I'm just saying, you know, I do still have my opinion when I do feel that it's a thing of, um, yeah, she's rocking this, and I usually don't like women wearing their hair this short. That's just me. But I respect that there are those, and it could be because it doesn't fit my head. I can't rock it. But she is able to make this look very, it's way much more feminine and softer look than the long hair look. She actually, and that I got to, and that's something I was pointing out. When you are able to have your hair like, let's say, this short or this, you know what I'm saying? What is said to not be so, and yet you still rock it looking beautiful. I think she looks way better. I just saw a niece recently, a niece of mine that lost weight and stuff, and she was just looking stunning. She had this no makeup look that I would love to capture. So I was like, girl, you got to do a tutorial. Show me how you did that. But she looks great here with this look right here. I love this look. And she's able, yeah, because I did feel that I've seen her before. I might have, um, she's kind of look like, maybe I'm thinking Stephanie Mills. Yeah, but see, this is, so you gotta say this is the skit. Look at that. And we all got the potential to make our face and distort our face and look a certain ways. You know, oh yeah, she's got these arched eyebrows. I see. I don't know if they, let me see, is that how they naturally are? Yeah, they're somewhat naturally arched. I can tell they've been somewhat shaped, but probably purposely for the skit. So yeah, I want us to laugh. I want us to be able. But yeah, she's got a definitely model-esque thing. Yeah, ain't that crazy? She looks better. Yes. Right, she looks nice. You know, another one, Lupita Nyong'o. I do feel that. Remember when somebody not that long ago was talking about Lupita Nyong'o, like they know some dark skin that are bad, a bitch. Like I said, they're looking at Lupita Nyong'o's hair and the fact that in Lupita Nyong'o she got a nice shape, she got curves, but she ain't got these big old breasts. You know, but trust me, if they would have put the long hair on Lupita, they'd be looking at her differently. But honestly, she's one of the people when they do show her with somewhat longer hair and stuff, I think she looks better. I think she was really cute in Panther. I like the, you know, like what she had. No, they weren't Bantu knots. Now, usually I don't, I definitely don't like when the hair is short and dyed a certain color. Only person I saw, like, you know, before this or before that girl that was in Set It Off. I don't know who that. She was the only person. And I really didn't like when they do that, like how the hair like kind of be really short and dyed, a platinum or something. Only that girl that was Queen Latifah's love interest. Okay, she looked kind of fly with that look, but I usually don't like that look. But right here, it's soft, it's feminine, it's wow, she's able, and I sure wouldn't like this color, but she is rocking it. You know, I like when you got like who is that? Alyssa Ashley channel. She was a one person able to rock like orange lipstick. Like I used to did not like the black lipstick look. I did not like that in the 90s. But you got some people now, they rocking it. Even like you can't get me to really like green lipstick, but I know that there's somebody. I think I did a video. There's somebody who's able to rock it and you know make it look good and surprise it. But I think that's when you don't have to lean on your hair to define your feminine. And like it was one brother, he was like, I meant no harm when I was talking about this years ago. Black women being able to shave it bald and get away with, you know. But this brother said, you know, so I love my sisters. Years ago, he posted to me, and it's not about me not loving Black beauty. He said, but I don't like women hair like that. I just don't. I don't. And I said, you know, and I was like, I understand. I get it. I understand. You know, if that's not your taste. Usually, I don't like hair. But I'm thinking more with myself. But there are women I feel look better with this look. I'm not saying that they gotta have long. I just, you know, I usually like just a little more hair, not cut so. Or it all depends on the style. Okay, like I did like Roshumba. It looks softer, feminine. Yeah, like if they have a line in it or something like that, or like where they got it looking like where the sides are shaved off, where they look almost like a fade. I just feel that crosses the line into masculine. That's just my opinion. I don't really like seeing mohawks unless it's, you know, that's just me. That's just me. Yeah, I liked it with Rasul, but I liked it. Yeah, there's some people like there are certain people I don't like how they look. I don't think they look better with long hair. Um, it's so funny because I was just watching Single White Female and you know the movie with and um that look with people were talking about a lot of people was getting that look. Some people felt it started with this person that with Demi Moore and when it came to white women, it is. And then you remember the look that Bridget Fonda had in Single White Female. And there was some people saying with Jennifer Jason, I didn't think she looked. They were talking she was hotter than Bridget. I'm like, no, I think that fit Bridget Fonda more. I think Jennifer Jason Leigh looks better, like in her Fast Times at Ridgemont High. When she had came down the stairs with the red short, like little cut. I don't know, that's not a pixie cut, but it wasn't look. I think it fit Bridget Fonda, being that she had more of a taller, model-less kind of. I think that fit her more. But there were some guys. I think they just saw Jennifer Jason Leigh as hotter or sexier because what she did in the movie. But but I'm not a guy. Hey, I don't know. Yeah, but I don't think she was able to pull off the short haircut the way that Bridget Fonda was able to. That's like Demi Moore could definitely. She's one of them people. I think that she could have it short or long, but I think that when she got that short haircut, it kind of took her to another level as an actress. She's one of the few white women that was able to pull off. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of like I couldn't imagine Anita Baker with this really really long hair. I just couldn't imagine. And even if we were to talk about certain mixed people, I think honestly, I think Amber Rose looked. I don't know. She can't rock it short, like, because she's still the shape of the head. But I do notice when they have shown her with longer hair, it's not as I don't. Maybe that's because that's what we're used to. But she still has a very Caucasian shaped head. But anyways, y'all, I will get back with y'all later. This has been an interesting discussion. I know I get all over the place and make it extensively longer than you need to, and I could just shorten this with a video. I will be re-uploading the video on Whoopi Goldberg because, like I said, in talking about featurism, also we don't really talk about. We always talking about the same things. You know, thick lips, wide nose. We don't talk about like facial prognathism in the cheekbones, and even with the distant, wide set eyes that have also been associated with Africoid / Negroid features that tend to get rejected. And like I said, that's the thing with Olandria. But what I will say, I just want to say this. I'm glad, yes, Olandria, she showed on the show that she can be very funny. She had a great sense of humor on the show. She was giving great, but she kept it classy and she still kept it feminine. And, Olandria, I'm glad people are like, oh, what's her talent? Yo, I'm not trying to promote Nicolandria now. I'm talking Olandria. And so I'm glad with what her image. I just don't want her to be just turned into some sex kitten. And, primarily for Caucasian men, for their gaze. But I still like seeing her image promoted. I just been feeling like I need to fall back on it because at the same time, I'm afraid to promote Olandria. I love that she's being promoted, but being that she's being linked with that show Love Island, and this is nothing personally against Nick, but Nick Olandria and the promotion, so I want to, but I do just I still like her being promoted. But this fashion industry is so weird. And maybe we should stop referring her to as a Barbie or even Bama. Yes, she is a doll, but Barbie is Barbie. She represents a white woman. Actually, it's based off of a white or German prostitute, I heard. But Olandria, the beautiful black doll, can, so it's hard because I feel like I'd be doing something wrong in promoting Olandria, being that she's linked with Nicolandria. You understand what I'm saying? And what they're trying to promote with interracial or black women expanding their options. Even though she hasn't said anything against black men or anything like that. In fact, her first choice was a black man, but I feel like I'd be irresponsible in the videos I've even done in support of Olandria, the black woman, the sister. Yeah, oh my gosh. Look at her hair. Stunning. But not everybody's going to agree with me on that. But anyways, I'll get back with you guys later. Much peace and much love, my family.